Oi, Mr. Karlifornia, man. What's happening, my friend?
How are you, big boy? Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. And sorry to everybody out there. We had a little bit of sort of going back and forth here. I think some shit was happening at my end and then some was your end and then we couldn't connect. But anyway, it's all good. We're here. That's rock and roll for you right there.
Man, I fucking hate technology. I hate it.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's all good now. Hopefully everybody can hear us out there. So if anyone is out there, can you just give us an okay? You can hear us loud and clear, both of us, and obviously we both look great tonight as well. You know, it's suppose we can't really complain on that part. But
absolutely.
Like before we get started, actually, my first question to you is: I want to find out about that name of yours, Karlifornia. How? What's the story behind that?
My name's Karl. And I don't like the name Karl. Whenever, like, my mum used to call my name from across the house, she'd always be like, Karl? And it sounded like, you know, when you wake up in the morning, you can hear, like, the crows in the street going, Karl! Karl!
Yeah.
I don't like the name Karl. My dad wanted to call me Rocky. Now, how perfect would have that fucking been, considering what I've become now?
Yeah.
Rocky Infirri. That would have been really cool. But it always annoyed me that no one ever came up with a cool nickname for me. So I came up with my own fucking nickname and I made it my Facebook name and that's it. So
it's so good, man. I love it. Well, that's a good thing, man. We saw it. We've got that one out of the way. So it's all about the crows.
I do have another little story about Karlifornia, which people seem to find funny. Because when I got my Uber account by registering through my Facebook. So every time an Uber driver picks me up, it's always, is your name really Karlifornia? I was like, yeah, man, my parents smoked a lot of weed back in the day.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Sweet, man. Look, we started up. I had the intro from Perth Rocks last year.
Yes.
And the main story behind that is obviously we just want to have a little quick intro to how you got the idea to put together this amazing festival.
Well, okay. The idea came about, I don't know if you know the band Legacy Alive. A local Perth band.
Yeah, I booked them in to come on the show in about 2 weeks' time.
Excellent. Well, Jacob Kenny, the singer of the band, you know, we've been very good friends for a while and we'd always catch up for a beer and complain about the rock scene in Perth and complain about the fact that, you know, nothing really happened a lot and it seems like all of these festivals that take place, like Perth City Limits Festival and Perth Festival and Wham Fest and all of these things that would take place, all of us rock bands would always be left out. We'd all apply, but we would never get on the bill. And it always blows my mind to know a band like Hail Mary, who toured with Ugly Kid Joe in Europe, representing our city, and they apply. They won a Wham award years ago. And they apply and they get knocked back. And that stuff just always confuses me. It just feels like they just cater to certain genres. This is what they like. This is what they want to promote. And I always found that so unfair. And I thought to myself, man, like every genre of music is as important as one another. And every genre of music should be, you know, on these bills. I mean, I get it if a certain bill is for a certain genre, like, you know, Matt Hatton likes to do his punk festivals and fair enough. But for something like Wham Fest where you should be kind of ticking off every single genre in different venues across Perth, they don't do that with rock. You know, they don't do that. I mean, they might do a metal gig, but they don't do it with a rock band. So I was always quite frustrated the fact that not just us, but all of my friends' bands could never get on these bills. So it's just through whinging to Jacob and him whinging back at me that I remember I said once, man, how good would it be if we booked out something like the Charles Hotel and we had like 10 bands starting from midday until midnight or something like that. All the good rock bands in Perth like Ragdoll, Hail Mary, Legs Electric, Us Two, etc. And, you know, we were excited about the idea, but we just kind of shelved it. We forgot about it. And then one day, Matt Hatton from Matt Hatter Productions, he had been putting on his own little festivals, the Friends and All Festival, which we played last February. We opened the show. But the following week, he put up a Facebook post saying, hey, has anyone got any ideas on a festival that I could put on? And I just messaged him immediately, and I'm like, bro, the Perth Rocks Festival, 15 bands, 2 stages. It's something that the rock scene has never had before. It's our opportunity to have this showcase and have the opportunity to perform in front of people that don't know who we are. Because and this is something that I want to say, and I hope I don't get too long-winded with it because I'm a big fucking nerd when it comes to this. But I was finding with the rock scene in Perth, all it were a bunch of spot shows through the year at different venues, different mixtures of bands playing together. And I'll just give an example. Like, we had a show that we played December 2018. And this tended to be what happened. You get your support bands on the bill. You want those support bands to bring their friends so that we get the ticket sales at the door so everyone can get paid. But in doing this and relying on simply that aspect, all you are gaining is that money. Those people who are coming to see their friend's band play, they're coming to see their friend's band play. They're not coming to buy into a new product. And what is the product being sold on the night? Your songs and your performance. To try and convince someone who's just out, maybe the one time they go out a month, just to see their friend's band, to convince them to now be a fan of your band and take the time to follow your band and come to more shows and buy the merchandise, that just wasn't happening. And I just found it was just this constant cycle. We're playing shows together. I mean, I didn't know the guys from Electric State. I didn't really know the guys from Amberdown, Silent Deeds, etc. We played shows together, but we never really mingled. So it was just this weird thing. We're playing shows together. It wasn't like a scene. It wasn't like we're all pals and stuff. And so that's just one aspect of the frustration of being in a band for the last few years in Perth, was like, we need to do something to fucking bring us together and make it a real scene like it once was in, I'd say, the mid-2000s, when Emerald City and Ragdoll and Hail Mary and a bunch of other bands, just starting out, bands like Baby Jane, like, they were fucking killing it, man. Like 300 plus people in venues every single time they had a show. So I wanted to try and bring it back to that sort of prominence, but the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we create family, if we create a scene, if we create this big group of people that are all going to support this one idea. And, I'm getting a little long-winded here. I'm passionate about it, but, that's awesome. Where it all came from, man. Like, we had to do something. We need to put on a showcase. We need people in the venue that love rock music, that are looking to buy into a new product and to give their passion to something fresh. So that's where it all came from. And when I said that to Matt, he just said, cool, let's do it. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm broke. I don't have any money. I don't know. I've never done this before. Now I'm in the deep end. And I'm like, shit, okay. But Matt, I got to give props to him. He nurtured me. He answered questions from me every single day. I didn't know what I was doing. I was coming at it from outside the box that other promoters may not have. But I compiled my list of bands. I contacted all of them. And, man, it was magic from the get-go, the hype. That's what it's all about, man. And that's why, as the months rolled on, we had 5 months until this show took place. The months rolled on, and it was fucking magic.
Fantastic, man. It's such a good it's such a good incentive, or like the whole concept behind it. And obviously, you have another show coming up this year as well, which again, I think we should come back and touch base on later. But before we sort of get too much into the whole Perth Rocks and all that stuff, let's actually try and talk a little bit about your story. And like, I'm super keen, and I know you are as well, to sort of elaborate a little bit about how everything sort of started at your end with your whole musical journey.
I'm such a nerd with all this kind of shit. Like, I've been practicing telling my stories in the car ride to work because I want to make sure I want to make sure I don't look back in this and think, oh fuck, I forgot to say this, I forgot to say that. So this is all very well rehearsed, but like, you know, we're doing this for the first time, one time. I want to make sure that this is like absolutely perfect. And, you know, I'm happy that you're the guy that I'm going to get to tell this story to.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I appreciate you, man. I appreciate what you're doing. You know, like, there's a lot of publications out there. A lot of people might not be bothered reading an article or an interview. You know, text can be a little bit boring. So to have a podcast out here in Perth and someone passionate like you that's going to take that time for us, I appreciate you, my friend.
Oh, you know, the pleasure is all mine. I've learned so much from all these wicked people I've spoken with.
Excellent, man. Well, where it started for me, hey. So I don't know if a lot of people know this about me, but once upon a time, I was Mr. Sportsman. I was all about sport. I wanted to be a phys ed teacher. I was captain of the primary school cross country and football team. I was captain of my high school tennis team, and I was in grade 9, and I was better than the year 12s. I played for the Wildcat Zone, which is essentially the junior Perth Wildcats when I was a teenager. I played for the Wanneroo Wolves. I was all about sport, and I was not really about music. I liked professional wrestling like WWF, but music, you know, the first instance that I ever really had an interest in a band was when I saw an advert for Midnight Oil's 20,000 watt RSL greatest hits. And I asked my mum when she went food shopping if she could buy it for me. And every night I went to bed, I listened to that album, which is ridiculous. Trying to get to sleep whilst listening to Midnight Oil is just not going to happen. So, you know, it goes from there into like my sister blaring music from her bedroom. And I must have lived through this by whole 10,000 times, and Smash by Offspring 10,000 times, Use Your Illusion 1 by Guns N' Roses, Nirvana Unplugged in New York, Pearl Jam Vitalogy. And I knew the words to these songs, you know, just because I was in the house and she was playing the music so loud. So anyway, one day I kind of raided her collection and listened to all the stuff that she had in there. And I've always attributed the shaping of myself to get into music to her and her CD collection. And you know what? Even my mum, she had Alanis Morissette and Michael fucking Bolton, and I love that shit. I don't care if anyone wants to pick on me about Michael Bolton. He is a treasure. So anyway, I hear Nirvana for the first time, and that's where a switch flicked in my head. And I dropped out of human biology at school. I no longer wanted to go on the path to be a phys ed teacher. I'm sure my mum was very happy about that. And I decided to join the music class. And the weird thing about that is such a bold move, because I couldn't play an instrument and I hadn't sang since I was in the choir in primary school. So my voice had broke at this point. I didn't actually know if I could sing or not. Lo and behold, I couldn't really. I could scream, and I could do a damn good James Hetfield, but that was about it. And so I got into the music program. We had a high school band that played 2 shows for the parents and teachers, a lot of Nirvana covers, a lot of Metallica. But I would say the most important show we played was in the gymnasium with my friends Leslie, John Reese, who used to drum in a band called Vida Kane, and Chris Rowe, who's a guitarist for the Midnight Mules. We played for the teachers in the gymnasium, and it was mine and my friend Les. It was our dream to play Johnny Be Good in the gymnasium at school just because of Back to the Future. So that was like my epic moment on stage playing that song with my good friends. And that was like the last time I played a gig for 12 years. Wow. And the journey from there to getting on stage again is going to be a very long-winded story, just like this one has been. So that's kind of how I got into music. And, you know, I kind of fumbled my way through the music program at school. I somehow passed. I did try to learn bass, but I was useless. Yeah, but that's how it all kind of began.
But so how old were you when you played that last gig before you had the 12-year break?
I'd say it was 2003, 2004, about then. Right. So the high school band didn't really work out. The guys started playing with other people once we left school and all that. But yeah, so that's kind of where it began. And then, you know, it took a few years before I finally, you know, got something else going. And obviously, it's just this long winding story.
Yeah, no, I'm super interested in hearing that, because obviously, you know, if you end up playing some music and you like, how did actually playing on stage, like, how did that make you feel?
It was so nerve-wracking, man. Like, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really know what I was doing a lot of the time. I didn't know anything about music. I still don't really know a lot about music. I just kind of wing it, and it somehow works now, but it took me 12 years to fucking finally get good at writing songs with other people and coming up with vocal melodies and coming up with lyrics. I mean, you should read some of my early lyrics. Are just dreadful, but you got to start somewhere, and it's practice that makes perfect, dude.
Exactly. But so what happened after the gig?
Not a lot, really. We all kind of just didn't play together anymore, and I mean, yeah, not really much of note. I think it was like a couple of years of like going on perthbands.com and trying to like form a band with strangers that I didn't know, and it never really working out. Yeah, there's not really much else to say up until I get to the point where I did audition for Ragdoll before they were Ragdoll. And that was pretty nerve-wracking for me. I knew Leon a bit, and he was trying to help me come along a little bit. They had an opening and I tried out, but man, it was so unfair. They picked the hardest fucking songs for me to learn. White Snake, you know, Van Halen, Motley Crue. I think there was an Ozzy Osbourne song in there as well. Man, 4 different singers that sound completely different. I was in over my fucking head. And obviously I didn't get the job, but I think it wouldn't have worked out anyway because I was pretty unreliable still at that time. And what things obviously worked out for the best for them because they're fucking awesome, you know.
But so if we go back to that high school gig, like what sort of went through your mind back then? Were you hooked on music? Like, was it something you could see yourself doing, or was there sort of other things in the horizon? Like, because obviously, by the time you finish high school, a lot of people are like, oh, either you want to go traveling or you want to, you know, start in some other career path or something.
Man, I didn't really know what I wanted. I wanted to do so many things. I wanted to be a wrestler. and I did do wrestling for a little while. And you know what? Like, kind of after that gig, I kind of got my fill there, and I didn't really think about it for too long. It probably took me a couple of years before like I got into like Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses, and that's kind of where like I realized again, oh yeah, actually I still have this dream of being in a band, and you know, I think I can still do it. But yeah, I'd say at high school I kind of lost a bit of passion because the music program at the time was fucking shit, and yeah, I didn't know really what I was doing at all.
but you still had the passion, like music was still something
it was there. Yeah, it was still there. It was still there, but I just needed a bit more of a kick up the arse, I think, at the time in order to, pursue it. I was lazy.
Right. But obviously 12 years is a long time. So yes. I'm sure a lot of other things would have happened than just auditioning for Ragdoll and looking up on Perth bands.
Yeah, well, I did form a band that we were so close to being ready to play a show. If you want me to get into that story, I can get into that now.
Sure, yeah.
So I met these guys who had posted on perthbands.com. One guy's name is Alan Dunn. He's a guitar player in Hair Metal Heaven, the local tribute band. And another guy, and he was in a band called Motorcade, if anyone out there remembers Motorcade from back in the day. And another guy called Braden Strang, who also was a guitar player in a band called Smokin' Aces. Those two were just two guitar players looking to form a band after, their previous bands didn't work out. So Alan got in touch with me, and I came down to rehearse with them. And I could see the look in their face when they saw me. They probably had never heard of me before, met me before. There's a guy with long hair, big leather jacket, tight pants, bandana on. They're like, oh, thank God. It's someone that is jiving on what we like. This might work out. And at the time, though, I was still terrified, mortified of the idea of singing in front of someone I didn't know. Like, I had a hard enough time with my friends in school. It was such a fear in me every time I knew I was about to start singing to a microphone. But I'll tell you this, with those guys, what I take most from working with them was that I got over that fear. And they really helped me out a lot. And we were called Snakebite. And, we're on the search to fill this lineup and just get on stage and give it a crack. And my friend Josh from work, I was working at Toys R Us at the time. He was a drummer. He's in a band now called Desert Dogs. They're pretty fucking cool. And he used to be in a band called Cavalier Knights. But it was my work colleague, and I've been telling him about this song that we wrote called Cesspool City, and he thought it was hilarious. He loved it. And he said that the song was stuck in his head even though he'd never heard it before. So he said he was keen to come down and, excuse me, give it a try. So, okay, we had a drummer now and it was working. And months went by. We finally got a fucking bass player. I can't even remember the guy's name. I think his name was Chris. I don't know if I ever saw him again after this rehearsal, but he had learned the songs. He'd come in. We played the songs that we had, and it was for the first time I heard the songs in full, and I was so ecstatic. It was perfect, and we were like, I think we might be ready. We had 5 or 6 songs. We had a couple of covers. Maybe we could book a gig. Well, as was per usual for me and my music journey, I was let down tremendously. The bass player had decided that it wasn't for him. Josh thought he was going to have to move back to England, where he was born. So he was like, I might have to drop out. I don't know what's going on with my life at the moment. So now it's back to the 3 of us. Alan says to me and Braden, boys, I can't wait for another drummer. This has taken long enough. It was like 6, 7, 8 months that we were doing this. I can't do this. I'm out. So it left me and Braden. We were right there. We were so close, bro. We were so fucking close. And it was me and Braden. And we tried to hold on, man. We auditioned this drummer, and I don't know who this guy is, and this might sound mean or arrogant of me, but as soon as I looked at the guy, I was like, this isn't going to work. He didn't look like us. He had gelled hair. I was just like, it's just not going to happen. I can't be in a band with a guy who gels his hair. I don't know why. But we tried to play the songs. We tried to teach him the songs. It was a horrible audition. We didn't even really play anything. And I think at the end there, me and Braden kind of looked at each other knowing that this resurrection wasn't going to happen and it was all over. But I was really happy for Braden that he ended up in this band called Smokin' Aces, and he ended up taking a riff that he had for Cesspool City, to my lyrics in his song, and implemented it in one of their songs. So it was good that, a little bit of snake bite managed to, head off onto another band's journey. And I've seen those two guys a couple times since, and really happy Alan's back playing. And they're two great guys, and I really have to thank those two because they helped me learn a little bit more about how to write songs with people, and they helped me get over my fear. So all in all, maybe it didn't work out, but it's learning lessons along the way.
Yeah. What year was this? Like how old were you at this point?
I think I was 21.
Yeah.
21, 22. And then when it didn't work out, and like the other bands that I'd auditioned for and those things didn't work out, I made another bold move. I don't know what I was thinking. It's just, you romanticize the story of how you're going to make it. You know what I mean? And I was a little naive, in my early 20s, thinking that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I've got British citizenship. I'm going to move to England. I'm going to travel a little bit at first, have a bit of fun, go to some concerts, but then I'm going to get a job at a bar or some shit, and I'm going to try and get out there, and I'm going to try and meet people and see if I can form a band. Sounded like a simple equation, but I guess what that became ended up being like the saddest tale of my journey, in music.
Oh, really?
Man. So when I first got there.
Oh, so you did go?
I did go.
I
first got there, man.
It's starting great then. You actually did it. Yeah.
I got there. I still had some friends from Perth that had been living over there for a little while. So we partied for the first couple of weeks, but then they were heading back to Perth. I had two other friends I was staying with over there, and they were looking to get jobs and stuff. But like on weekends, they didn't want to do anything. They just wanted to stay in. So the two friends I had over there didn't want to go out and have a drink with me or anything like that. So that was pretty disheartening, but I didn't let it stop me. So I went out to all the rock hotspots, all the bars, trying to meet people and thinking this is where it begins, man. This is where it begins. And, I would go to these bars and I'd try and strike up conversations with people, and it would last a little while, but then they'd go off with their friends. And I was pretty socially awkward and anxious. I had a little social anxiety. So,
why do you think that was?
I don't know, man. It took me years to finally come out of my shell and be myself. I didn't know who I was at the time. I knew what I wanted, but I hadn't grown up yet. My brain still hadn't matured. I didn't have the confidence yet, and that confidence will come in time. Because I always put myself in positions where, as an unconfident person, I always put myself in positions that a confident person will flourish, in hopes that maybe it would fucking get this awkwardness and this social anxiety out of me. So I did stand-up comedy. I became a professional wrestler for a couple of years, and just wrestling locally, wrestling in a character.
Oh, wow.
I did all these different things, and eventually, I got that shit out of my system. But I don't know, maybe it was for the longest time I didn't really like the person who I was. I'm a child of divorce, you know? So, you know, that's where I guess all that anxiety came into it. And I couldn't seem to make any friends over there. And I gave up pretty quickly. It was probably about a month. And this is the saddest part of the story, but I remember like leaving a club one night just so dejected because no one talked to me. No one seemed interested. And, I just couldn't make any leeway. I didn't have the tools necessary at that stage to like know how to like advertise myself and get myself settled in somewhere. I was in over my head again. So the saddest part of the story is, you know, like leaving this club and I called my mum and I'm like in tears and I'm like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought that this was going to be like this awesome story. And again, I was just naive and incapable. And I was really just upset that my trip to Europe, it was such a dream to go over there. And I felt like I was just completely and utterly failing at that. And, yeah, it was hard, you know. And so she bought me a ticket to go to Italy to stay with some family there. And while I was there, I didn't drink for like 2 weeks. All I did was read books and write lyrics, and suddenly like my lyric writing was getting better. Like I felt like words were coming to mind better because I was reading more. Yeah. And I think that's a hot tip for anyone out there who's a lyricist. If you read a lot, I guarantee your words will come to your mind better when you're trying to write lyrics. So like that was like nice. And, you know, I finished off my trip in Paris by myself. But I guess what I take away from that experience is, you know, look, I got to see the third last show that the Sex Pistols ever played at the Hammersmith Apollo. I got to see the original Stooges play before Ron Ashton died. So at least I got to do those things. So it wasn't entirely a wasted trip. But again, it was just this failed experiment that I kind of broke my own heart because I was so incapable of doing what I was trying to do. And
how long were you there for?
I think 3 months. I had a lot of savings at the time, so I was able to just get by. But
and what
I was only like eating sandwiches from the deli. I wasn't like buying food, and I had a terrible diet too. But yeah, it was about 3 months, maybe 2.5 months. Yeah.
And when you were over there, what sort of living arrangements did you have? Because
we stayed in this flat. It was so shit. It was in Fulham, and they were like, it was all the houses are like this, and there's like 5 or 6 rooms. It's like, I guess, almost like an apartment. But the thing is, our room was also our kitchen and our bathroom. There was a toilet, but it was shared between the other rooms, and there was a massive double bunk bed. Those two, they were a couple. Those two slept on the bottom bunk. I slept on the top bunk. What a fucking shit idea that was. What the fuck? We were just desperate to try and get some place to live. That was fucking shit, man. Like, I had fun with them one night. We got drunk together and got all dressed up and fucking listened to Motley Crue and shit. And, you know, had a laugh. But, you know, they're still my friends, but fuck, that was such a shit time. And
yeah, London is so expensive as well, man. It was
so expensive. Like, I don't know what the fuck we were thinking, but like, when I called my mum, that's when like the next day I told them, like, I got to get out of here. This is shit. I am not enjoying myself whatsoever, you know? So Italy was awesome, and, you know, I really got to clear my head while I was there and think about what was important in life. And maybe that was the moment that I started to mature a little bit. Those 14, 15 days that I spent in L'Aquila, as a small little town there, that unfortunately was hit by a massive earthquake a few months after I left, which pretty much destroyed everything.
Oh, really?
It's fucked, man. I can't believe it, man. I was probably the last Australian that got to see that place.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm sure some of it's still there, but I know a lot of the beautiful architecture's just been decimated. So, yeah.
Wow.
So I made it back to Perth, and I think like a couple of days after I got back, I like just rocked up to the Amplifier bar, and everyone was surprised to see me. Oh, what are you doing back? I thought you were going to be gone for good. I'm like, I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah, fair enough, man. And what year was this that you came back?
I believe it's we're talking 2008 or 9. I think it's 8. So it must have been. Man,
So
if I could fucking Google this Sex Pistols gig, I would know what fucking.
But that's still only about halfway into your 12-year hiatus. So
That's it. Yep.
so there would still be a lot of extra struggles, or something is happening, which I'm sure you're gonna share with us now.
Fuck, man. Like, so like if I thought to myself at this point, okay, it can only get better from here. It doesn't. I get my hopes up one more fucking time, and I get fucking shattered from what takes place from all of this. So, geez, I'm thinking maybe I'd given it a little bit of a rest for a while. I would always go to gigs. I would always be incredibly jealous that people were on stage and I wasn't. It almost made it like I couldn't enjoy the gig because I'm like, man, I just want to get up there. Fuck, why can't I fucking get up there? Why can't I meet someone? Why isn't this fucking working? Anyway, okay, so one night I'm at Connections. It was midweek. It was the only place still open, okay? It's a gay bar. I'm wearing a Motley Crue shirt. I'm wearing my bandana. I'm with a mate of mine. We just want to drink somewhere. As I walk out to the smoking area, this fucking dude from the other side of the smoking area fucking just screams, Motley fucking Crue! And I'm like, what? Who the fuck is that? And he was this guy. His name's Michael Redmond. He came up to me. Fucking love your shirt, bro. And like, it kind of gets in my head. This is the perfect story of how a successful band was formed. These two guys in a very unlikely place, two straight hard rocker dudes meet in a gay bar, bond over Motley Crue. He happens to be a guitar player. I happen to be a vocalist. He happens to have a friend who is a drummer, and they're looking for a singer. I thought I'd met everyone in Perth. This is a small place. I thought I'd met everyone that liked rock and roll. So I finally found some people, fresh people that I hadn't worked with yet, to form a band. And they'd already had their band's name idea. They wanted to call themselves Midnight Drive. They didn't last too much longer, but I don't think we ever really had a proper name anyway. But for the next few months, like me and Michael and his drummer Brandon, we would just hang out and drink together. And, you know, I'm already thinking, man, we've already got the perfect look here. I still had a lot of hair back then. Michael kind of looks like a healthier version of Jim Morrison. And Brandon, fuck, man, like Brandon was like a good-looking dude. He looked like Jimi Hendrix if Jimi Hendrix was handsome. You know what I mean? So, like, I already had these pieces of the puzzle, and I'm like, okay, we just got to find a few more people, and this thing can work out. You know what I mean? So I was friends with this girl, and this girl said to me, hey, so I've got this boyfriend who really likes rock music and shit, and he's a guitar player, and I want to find him some more friends. I don't know what was going on with him, if he just couldn't be fucked having friends or whatever, but she knew I liked rock music, and she was like, this is so funny. She set up like a play date. She set up a play date with me and her boyfriend. His name's Daniel Copland. This fucking guy looks like the love child of Axl Rose and Dave Mustaine.
Wow.
Fucking big mane of red hair, tall, wore leather jackets, slim. As soon as I meet the guy, I'm like, Michael, Brandon, I found another guitar player. He didn't have a band at the time, but man, he could fucking wail on that thing. So I put them together, you know, like I introduced Michael to Daniel and shit, and we all start hanging out with each other. And they're like, all right, we've got to find a bass player. We've got to find a fucking bass player. And I just feel like all of these stories are coming together, and it's like this perfect thing that's just working out, man. So I'm in a bar one night, and I see this fucking dude, again, this fucking guy, tattoos, fucking rings on every fucking finger, big mane of black hair, lip ring, looked like fucking Nikki Sixx, man. He was my friend Kane. And Kane is one cool motherfucker, and I just walked up to him and I was like, bro, I don't know where you've been, but I've never seen you before. You know, I would have thought I would run into you by now because you obviously like the same music as me. He was pretty drunk, but like, you know, he gave me his details because lo and behold, he was a fucking bass player.
Nice.
What are the odds of that, you know? Like, I mean, it just, everything seemed like the stars seemed to be aligning so perfectly, this situation.
Yeah.
Like, what were the odds that this fucking guy, like, was a bass player? Okay, like, so I said to him, like, man, well, we've got a band together. We haven't really jammed much, but, like, you know, would you be interested in coming down and auditioning and stuff? So anyway, I've got the perfect players, and we start jamming together every week. There's a few growing pains, you know. I was having a hard time songwriting. I think Michael was having a hard time songwriting with me because Michael wanted to be the lead guitarist. Like, they both came up with good riffs, like, you know, but for whatever reason, we just really couldn't put things together very well, and it was a frustrating thing. But I guess the most frustrating part of it all was that Brandon, the drummer, would always be like 2 hours late. Like, Kane had work early in the morning. So Kane, by the time he's starting to pack up and leave, Brandon's arriving, and it's just Brandon's Michael's best friend. So, like, you know, I have to keep nudging Michael every now and then, like, man, you know, we got to get him there earlier because this is kind of like bumming everyone out and it's ruining it. Like, we got to get him there earlier. Anyway, I think the last straw was like he was like 3.5 hours late one time.
What?
Look, like, Brandon is a lovely guy, but Brandon's the kind of guy that if you say, hey, guys, we're all meeting at this location at this time, he'll be like, I'll be there. And then the time comes and goes. You don't hear from him. The next day you ask him, where were you, bro? And he'd be like, oh, sorry, something came up.
It's like he's on a different time zone or something.
Dude, like, fuck. Like, again, I love the guy. He's a gentle, lovely person. But I remember once I was at a birthday party. I hadn't seen him in a couple years. And I knew he was on the list on Facebook of attending. And he said, bro, I'm going to be there in 20 minutes. Does he show up? Of course he fucking doesn't. Never heard from him for the rest of the night. I'll be there in 20 minutes. So I don't know what it was with Brandon, but
that's so annoying, man.
It was, man, because like we had these perfect pieces of the puzzle together. We just needed a reliable drummer.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I think like me and Kane had kind of given Michael an ultimatum. We're like, man, I know he's your best friend, but if he's not on time next week, we strongly feel like he should leave. And we should find someone else. So I know for a fact Michael was on his ass all week. You got to be there on time. You got to be there on time. You got to be there on time. We get there. Lo and behold, he's on time. He set up his kit, okay? And this is only half of the story with this band, okay? This is only the halfway point. Okay, so he sets up his kit. We're all ready and rearing to go. Just as we're about to start playing, He pulls out his bong, has a cone, puts it down, and just proceeds to play out of time. We finally got him there on time, and then he's playing out of fucking time. He can't. He's baked. He can't play. And I just think at that point, Kane had kind of thrown his hands up. He was kind of done with it. He didn't want to waste his time, and it just kind of fizzled out for a few months there. And I think I kind of just said to Michael, like we're going to have to like try and if you want to still make music with me, we've got to try and find another drummer. If you want to keep this going, we've got to find someone else.
And how long had you been playing together at that point?
Fuck, man, it had to be like 10, 11 months. I mean,
shit.
Like my memory's not very good with like how long things went for, because it might have only been 6 months, but it might have felt like 12. But
even 6 months for someone that's that unreliable.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Would feel like a lot longer, because you wouldn't have accomplished anything. You would have wasted so much time.
Absolutely, man. And so anyway, like some time passes by, and Kane was on holiday somewhere, like he was away for several months. Michael went to the United States. He went to Los Angeles. He went to the whiskey, and he came back fucking inspired. This guy was like hell-bent when he got back. His attitude was way different to what it was like before. He was like hell-bent on fucking getting a band together and playing live. So that was a relief for me. And whilst all this had happened, I'd like I put on like a monthly rock and roll night, where it's just like rock and roll music played by a DJ, which was me. Just a place for, there was no Joe's Juice Joint. The Rocket Room had closed down and turned into a male strip club. There was nowhere for people like us to go to listen to the music we love. So I created this thing called Decadence, where it took place once a month at various locations in Perth. Pardon me. So through this, like, there's people coming along that I don't really know, but like cool looking people, and like, end up becoming friends with them. And one guy was this guy called Scott. I don't know if have you seen Spud Gun play when Scott was still in the band?
No, I haven't. I met the guy though. He was at the last. He looks
like fucking Richie Sambora, like,
yeah,
right. So how I was saying, like, Michael looks like fucking a healthy Jim Morrison. Daniel looks like Dave Mustaine. Fucking Kane looked like Nicky Sixx. Now I found a Richie fucking Sambora. Find out the guy plays fucking drums, dude. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is it. You have a little bit of a bump in the road, but I found another guy who's got the look. You know how fucking hard it is finding people who've got the right look for the band and the style of music you want, especially in a place like Perth. So difficult, man. So difficult. Because a lot of guys want to cut their hair short, because girls, tend to be more attracted to guys with shorter hair, and they don't want to be with a scruffy old fucking bloke like us.
Some girls.
Cool girls know that guys with long hair is where it's at. So anyway, Scott hadn't been playing drums for a while, but he used to drum. And so I was like, man, you should get a kit. Let's like try and put something together. I've got my old bandmates still. We could do this. Kane was still away on holiday. So I'd introduced Scott to Michael, Scott to Daniel, and like they all kind of started getting to know each other, which was great. So the next thing I know, all of a sudden, Michael's like booked a rehearsal. And so I'm like, cool, man, like what time and where? So we go, we start jamming. I think we jammed 3 times together. And like it started sounding really good. Like I would say in comparison to like before, the songwriting was starting to get a little bit better. Beforehand, some of those songs really were dreadful. I'm not going to lie, and we all contributed to it, but like we just needed to find our chemistry, It was no one's fault. We just needed to find a chemistry, and I felt like we were starting to get there. Anyway, so we're heading towards the end of this tale where it becomes almost like tragedy for me. I sit the guys down after we finish jamming once, and I show them some songs of a bunch of different bands saying, like, what do you think of going down this direction? You know, like, our sound isn't really defined yet. It's kind of like stock standard cookie cutter kind of rock music. Maybe we need to try and add different elements in. I don't know. I'm just a vocalist. I don't know shit about, you know, how to play guitar or come up with guitar riffs, but I can come up with melodies and lyrics. But I'm just throwing out ideas out there, and they didn't seem like they were too, like, against them. Like, they seemed pretty positive, and I was telling them about some song ideas I had and all that. And anyway, we get to, like, a few weeks later, and my birthday's coming up. And obviously now, this is another thing I've got to explain before later on I get to the story of Jackson Coke's first gig. I've been telling my friends in school all these years that I'm in a band, I can sing, I'm in a band. I think they kind of didn't believe me, or they just thought, like, you know, I don't think Carl really is probably that good, so, like, that's why none of this ever seems to work out. I don't know. They never really said anything to me, but that was kind of like the general consensus that I felt from them, you know. So you have to keep that in mind, right? So I told my friends, like, hey, you're going to see them in the flesh. They're going to be there. My band is coming to my fucking birthday party. We're all going to get fucked up. It's going to be fun. Well, the birthday party comes. It goes. I don't think much of it because, like, I'm having fun with my friends. I don't really think about the fact that actually none of them showed up. And it wasn't like until the next day when I was like, what the fuck? Like, they said they were coming, like, that day, and then they didn't show up or whatever. So I was like, I messaged them like, where the fuck were you all last night? You missed out a great time. Like, my friends made fun of me because none of you showed up, and, like, none of them replied. So I still didn't think much of it. I just thought, oh, maybe I might have, like, pissed them off by having a go at them or whatever. But I didn't really have a go at them. I was just saying, like, oh, you know, where were yous?
Yeah.
Anyway, it couldn't have been much longer after that. And look, I want to say this first and foremost. I've, like, buried the hatchet with these guys. Like, I love these guys. They really are, you know, great dudes. I'll get to it. I get a quick message out of the blue from Scott saying, hey, man, sorry to do this. We found a different singer. You're out of the band. And I read this and I'm, like, shocked.
Wow.
I didn't see anything coming. I was like, what? So I immediately fucking call Scott. He doesn't answer. I message Daniel. No reply. Doesn't even read the message. I try to call Michael. I message Michael. No reply. Doesn't answer my call. You have to understand, at this point, I've been friends with him for ages. So, like, I know his younger brother. I know his girlfriend at the time. So I'm messaging them. Do you know what's going on? I'm freaking the fuck out right now. What did I do wrong? Someone has to tell me what I did wrong. And even they ghosted me. And I was like, I mean, I'll be honest, I've got depression, right? And this fucking set me off. Like, I was, like, in bed, like, miserable. Didn't want to do anything. I was heart fucking broken. That none of those guys had any decency in them to just get together with me and discuss what the problem may have been, or what led them to even looking for another singer whilst I was still in the band. Was it that discussion that we had about what I thought the direction should be? I didn't know. I didn't know what had happened. And honestly, to anyone out there thinking of ghosting someone, if you're in a relationship with them or whatever, please don't do that to them, because that can really do some damage to people. So I was, like, really upset for several months there that none of them would talk to me. None of them would reply to my messages. And then, yeah.
So was this literally just, like, you said you had this chat about maybe going to a different direction. Then you had your birthday party, and that's it. And you didn't hear from them again.
No, and
that's fucked, man.
I don't mean like, I know that we're doing like a live podcast here and it's going out there, and I still know these guys and I'm friends with them. I just want to say I'm not trying to call any of you out or anything. I'm just trying to tell my story.
Of course, but it's still like that circumstance, regardless of how long ago that was, it's still such bad etiquette, man.
Yeah, and
it's
like,
bad form.
I know that they felt bad about it, like, and I'll get to that part. So I go to Joe's Juice Joint one night, and I don't think it had been open very long. And as I'm walking down the alleyway towards the bar entrance, I see Michael and Daniel standing out the front. Now, when I saw them and they saw me, like, man, like, surely they had a log in their pants. Like, they looked like they shat themselves. Not in a sense that they thought I was going to come up and start wanting to, like, throw fists, because I'm not that kind of person, and that would have never happened.
But it's
it hurt, but it didn't hurt so much that I would actually want to fight anyone. I'm a lover, not a fighter. But I just walked up and I just said, fucking, what the hell, man? What the hell? And, like, Daniel was looking down and Michael was just like, fucking, I could see the look in their face. Like, they knew that they'd fucked up and done the wrong thing. And they apologized. And, and I was just like, it's cool. I just needed to know what it was, because
of course,
not knowing what it was made me think that I was the biggest fucking asshole who was unaware of it in the world. I must have been a horrible person. That's what I thought I was. For all that time. And all I just needed was just to be told, it didn't even need to be in person. Just call me and just say, look, man, we wanted to do things this way, not that way. And so anyway, I remember, like, months down the line, like, I hung out with Daniel, like, one-on-one again, and I really wanted to get some clearer answers out of him. And he had said that, like, Michael wanted to go in his own direction with the band. He kind of wanted to be in charge of the band and what they were going to do, and maybe the extra voice in the room wasn't what he wanted. But also, I was really pushing for when Kane got back from his holiday that Kane would play bass with us. And I don't know what reason it was, but Michael didn't want Kane to be the bass player. I don't know what it was. Like, I don't think those two ever had any disagreements or anything. I just think Michael just didn't want to play with him and didn't want to play with me anymore. And wanted to kind of, like, be in charge of the band. So that's kind of what I found out later down the line. But, look, it's all water under the bridge now.
Yeah, but man, yeah, it still just shocks me that someone would break up over a text message and not even give you the time of the day to give you some answers, man.
I called back immediately as I got the message. So, like, he had his phone in his hand still.
Of course.
But yeah, that really fucked me up. Like, that made me almost give up for good. But what changed it was the fact that I saw that they had got their band together and they were starting to play gigs. And for me, who was so adamant that, fuck, I really need to play on stage, just even if it's just once, I just want to do it just to say that I did it. To see these guys that I was with, it had to be about 18 months. Sorry, I keep burping. For 18 months of my time, and for us to be so close to the finish line, and for me to be not a part of it, and seeing them on Facebook, pictures of them having fun together, pictures of them playing shows, pictures of them wearing T-shirts and merchandise that they had bought. Man, that devastated me to my core. I was like, fuck, like, still after all these fucking years, I haven't got on stage yet. I can't get there. What is wrong with me? It's got to be me. It has to be me. So, like, that seeing all that stuff started to, like, and look, I buried the hatchet with them, but, like, it fueled my fire. Like, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to give this one last fucking shot. And if it doesn't work this time, I am fucking done. But I want to get a band together, a band that ends up being better than their band, a band that lasts longer than their band and has better songs than their band. I want to make them think, shit, we should have stuck with Karl. And that's how I was feeling at the time. And it certainly gave me an axe to grind, if you know what I'm talking about.
Good, good man. I'm just trying to write the timeline down here. So roughly, how far ahead are we now?
I mean, it had to be like 2014, 2015-ish, because I know Jackson Coke was formed in like September 2015.
Yeah,
but we started jamming together around then. So it had to be like, yeah. So
just so I understand this straight. So from the whole timeline, from when you have your high school gigs, you go to London until you have these other two band endeavors here, you haven't still played one gig.
No, it just wasn't working out with anything. And
no.
To think up this time, surely this time's going to work out.
Yeah.
For it to end the way that it did, fuck, man, I was just like, yeah. I was devastated, but I was not, at this point now, I was ready to fucking try it one last time.
Did you ever, at any point in time, did you ever think about maybe joining a cover band? So at least, because, they gig regularly, it's just a matter of learning the songs and stuff.
No, that wasn't my dream.
No, fair enough.
My dream was to have my own songs in my own band.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted, yeah. Plus, I can't sing like anyone else. I can only sing like me. I could do some covers, but, yeah, it just ends up sounding like me, So I wouldn't do good in a cover band.
All right, so we're almost up to 2015 now.
It has to be around that time. I mean, I wish I could find on my phone if their band page is still up and we could see if I should have been more prepared and wrote a timeline of events down. But it has to be like mid 2010s, around that time, like 2014, 15, 16, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
But okay, so you've sort of reconciled with the old bandmates, and you've got this fuel now. You're gonna show them. And what happens next?
Well, okay, so I'm on the search, man. I'm trying to find some people, and I guess it was one fateful night. My friend Perry was having like a little get together, and a lot of people that were invited were like people that were local musicians or guitar enthusiasts, because Perry makes guitars, Ormsby guitars, whatever. I don't care if it sounds like I'm name dropping. He's my mate. So he had people over, and it was just a random selection of people. I didn't really know a lot of them very well. I know like Paul, who used to be in Helhammer, was there. Frank, who used to drum for Emerald City, was there. And there was this guy there, leather jacket on. He was obviously Italian. I'm Italian. So I knew we'd get along. So I went up and said hello. Once again, lo and behold, we find out our favorite bands are Guns N' Roses and Aerosmith. His name's Nathan Barona, and he used to be in a band called Aztec Sons. And Nathan and I were just having a chat, talking about what we've been up to. I told him the story about me and my old band. He told me about how he was in Aztec Sons and they kind of broke up, and now he's in a cover band, but he's not really enjoying it. He was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Disenchanted, maybe? I don't know. That's not the correct word. Not unmotivated. It was like he wasn't inspired by it.
Yeah,
he was inspired by being in a cover
it.
band.
Yeah.
And he'd been in this band for like a year, and they'd only played one gig that he put together, and like he just felt like their wheels were spinning and nothing was happening. So I just said to him, do you want to give the original thing one last go? Maybe me and you could put something together. And he responded quite positively to it. And, you know, we were kind of like off to the races there. And now we had to try and find some people. So that's kind of like the genesis of Jackson Koke right there, is just that night where we first met one another.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So,
everything has to start somewhere.
Absolutely. So, and, you know, I felt really positive that this would work out, because, you know, he seemed to have that spike in his gut like I had, and that dream to still try and make this work.
Mm. And so what happens after? So obviously that was just the two of you. You need some more members?
Yeah, I was trying to compile a band like before. But the people that I had picked, it just wasn't going to work out for various reasons, like Jacob from Legacy Alive. He already had 2 bands and he just couldn't do it. Kane, I think Kane, all he cared about at that point was traveling, so he was kind of out. And everyone else I kind of approached it just, they weren't in the position at that stage of their life to get back into original music. So I think one frustrated night, me and Nathan are having a chin wag, and I just say, do you know anyone? Do you know anyone who could drum? Because drummers seem to be the hardest one to find, but there's no point getting together to write songs if you don't have a drummer. Mm. So he said, look, I got the drummer from my old band, Aztec Sons. His name's Stewie. And I knew of Stewie. I'd seen Stewie at gigs and stuff. He was a big gig goer. He just said, like, he's not doing anything at the moment. I can ask him and maybe we can work together with him. So, okay, it was the 3 of us. And we rehearsed together, just the 3 of us, and wrote a couple of pretty simple songs. Out of that, Nathan played this guitar riff, and I noticed that my old lyrics to Cesspool City in the band Snakebite completely fit the whole thing. So I just started singing it. And, like, the look in their face was so excited. Holy shit, we got our first proper fucking song. And it just so happened that everything fit together. And the guitar riff was completely different from what it was back in the day. So, man, it was like magic. And then we advertised for a bass player, and that's our bass player now, Neil Zahadi. He answered the advert, and so it was just the 4 of us, and we were still chipping away at songs. I think we had about 5 at that stage. And then another guy, John Spagnuolo, who's no longer in the band as well, he'd answered the advert too, and he was similar to me. He had never played a live gig before, but he'd been in and out of bands for quite some time. So it was the 5 of us. We had 5, 6 songs, and it was getting to like about, I don't know, January of 2016, I think. Yeah, it has to be 2016. And we just go, okay, like, we're ready. So, like, to go from, like, September to January, like 4 months, all of a sudden, are you fucking serious? Like, we're going to play a gig? We're ready? It just seemed to happen so quickly. And after all the fucking shit I went through beforehand trying to get a band on a stage in a venue, and just as simple as that, we named the band Jackson Koke. We're ready to play a show. My friend Tom Mantle books shows at the Herdsman Lake Tavern. I message him. We're ready for our first gig. Can you put together a bunch of bands to play on the bill with us? And, man, we were ready to fucking go.
Fantastic, man.
Fuck, bro.
And like, what went through your mind, sort of, the days leading up to? Like, is this really happening, or were you sort of having a bit of deja vu?
I'll say the old cliche, man. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything but drink. I was so shitting myself over this. Because you have to remember, as I said before, all of my friends, my family, everyone I work with, all the people from all over the years and all the different things I did, wrestling, comedy, whatever, all of those people had heard that I was in a band that never fucking did anything. Now it's fucking, now it's happening. So the pressure's on.
Yeah.
I've got to be good. I have to be good. If I'm shit, that's going to suck. So the pressure was on, and man, I think I had 3 or 4 pints before I went on stage, but yeah, the days leading up to it, shitting bricks, dude. Like I
could imagine.
Mate, this might be too much information, but like 15 minutes before we played, I chucked a shit in the Herdsman Lake Tavern. A nervous poo. A nervous poo. Okay?
A nervous poo, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so fuck, man. It's like the most epic fucking moment of my life at this stage. It's the best day of my life, you know?
But I was about to say, so how was the gig? So how was it?
Okay, well, I've got to give some shout-outs to the bands that are on the bill. The Procrastinators, who I haven't seen in a long time, but great dudes. The Devil and Miss Jones, who have unfortunately broken up by now. And Miles Mitchell. I don't know why we booked him. He's a great musician, great guy, but he lives in fucking Albany. And he drove all the way up to play on this show with us. We didn't know him, but someone had recommended him.
Nice.
Man, fucking good on you, Miles. I hope you watch this, dude. You're fucking good on the night, and thank you for being a part of it, and all the other bands. And I've got to thank Tom Mantle as well for putting it together. And, dude, I'm telling you, there was 200 people in the room. It was everyone that I knew. Co-workers, wrestling friends, my friends from high school, primary school, my family, my uncle and auntie were there. My dad and my other uncle were there. Like, yeah, pressure's on. We get on stage. I think we play second because I wanted to get it over early.
Yeah.
And I did have friends say to me, you know, we start off with Cesspool City. I don't know if you've heard the song, mate. Probably not. But, you know, there's a few, I guess, if the riff goes through like fucking 4 times and before I come in, you know? So everyone's just kind of like, oh. And then as it gets to me coming in, boom, I'm good. I'm real good. I'm hitting the notes perfectly, man. And everyone apparently was like, once we heard you sing the first line, we were like, oh, thank God he's good. Okay, fuck. After all these years, we don't want to be like, yeah, good job, buddy. And yeah, like it went so well. You know, at one stage, you know, I said, look, 12 fucking years it's taken me to get on stage here tonight, and I just want to get you guys all to do one thing on the count of 3, okay? On the count of 3, I want you all to just clap once at the same time. Because I wanted to see what it felt like to control a crowd, dude. So I said that 1, 2, 3, they all went clap. It's the stupidest thing, but after that I went, that was fucking sick, and everyone burst into laughter.
Nice,
it just felt so good to finally be up there, man. And
yeah.
If it wasn't for Nathan, Stewie, John, Niall, like I owe them so much for like getting me to that point. And it meant so much to me that like I had finally learned how to like write music and songs with other people. And like I was just so excited, man, going forward, like finally we did it, and we've got more gigs booked. It's so cool to be able to say, yeah, we've got a gig booked at the Swan Hotel next Saturday, and then, you know, the Boston the following weekend, opening for Vita Kane. You know, like it felt cool, man.
Yeah, man. So it was all happening.
It was all happening, man, and like I found that like once we had accomplished one thing, we wanted to do the next thing. You know what I mean? And so we only played like 6 or 7 shows. And I want to tell you about a band called Crash Rat. A bunch of guys from Bunbury. I first saw an advert for them on Facebook playing an amplifier bar, and I looked at a picture of them, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I'd have never heard of these guys, and they were dressed with, they got the big hair and the fucking ripped shirts, and they look totally like glam metal. So I was like, fucking, all right, I'm going to go check these guys out. Unfortunately, when I got there, they'd already finished their set. I didn't expect the gig to start so early. And I went right up to OD, the singer, and I said, man, you don't know me, but I came here specifically to see you guys play, and I fucking missed it. And like, he could have been more like gracious and lovely to me, and like so excited to meet someone who he didn't know that wanted to see his band play. And so I get on the beers with him and some of the guys in the band that night, and it's a wild time. They're fun to be around. And this was before Jackson Koke. And I said, man, I'm going to get a band together one day, and when I've got a band together, we should play some shows. And I always said that to him every time I saw him. So now Jackson Koke were playing shows, and I said, bro, we got to play a show together, man. Let's do this. Let's play in Bunbury or something. And he says, dude, why do a show when we could do a tour?
Yeah.
So that's when the idea was first, the seed was planted from OD about us putting on a fucking tour of WA. So I went back to Nathan and I said, look, man, there's this band Crash Rat from Bunbury. They're like hard rock like us, and they're keen to like maybe put together a little tour. So the idea was to do 8 shows in 4 weeks, or maybe 8 shows in 5 weeks with like a week gap in the middle. So it's going to be one in Albany, and then one in Bunbury on the Friday, then Albany on the Saturday. The following week, Friday in Southern Cross, Saturday in Kalgoorlie. The following week after that, or 2 weeks after that, Fremantle on the Friday, Rockingham on the Saturday, and then finish off with 2 shows in Perth somewhere. Maybe a small show up real north of the river near Joondalup Ways, and then finish somewhere central.
Yeah.
So on paper, it sounds great, right? We call it the Recipe for Disaster Tour. And my friend, that was a perfect name because that's exactly what happened. But I wouldn't change anything about that. It was perfect the way that it all happened.
So what happened?
It's interesting. Man, let me just have a drag of this smoke.
Yeah. While you have a drag, man, let me just say, man, thanks so much for sharing these, man. These are crazy stories, man.
Man, I was worried you're going to find them boring. Like, I thought that, I didn't know if that was interesting or not.
This is the real world. You know what I mean? Like, this is...
Is anyone watching? I don't know. Is anyone watching? Do we have anyone in the...
Oh, yeah. We got a whole shitload of comments and bits and pieces. We'll go through that later. Okay,
that's cool. I'm glad people are watching. So anyway, also shout out to Shane Johnston. He sent me a message that popped up on my screen saying that he loves me. Love you too, bro. All right. Recipe for Disaster Tour. So we have the idea. We put up the poster. It looks great, and so OD is going to help us out by booking the shows like down south and Rockingham and all that. And me and Nathan are going to worry about because Nathan's from Southern Cross. So we're going to have him sort out the Southern Cross and the Kalgoorlie shows because he played there before.
Yep.
So, okay, it sounds good on paper. This sounds like it's going to work. And we're getting closer and closer to the week that we want to start doing this, and we booked the show in Bunbury, the first show of the tour. And OD tries to get the Saturday show in Albany at the White Star, I think it's called, and the manager just doesn't get back to him. And he tries again, and we're like, no, we shouldn't have put the poster out until we booked the venues. There's no point doing an Albany show if it's not on the Saturday after Bunbury because we're not driving down all that fucking way twice,
Yeah.
So, okay, Albany's out. All right, doesn't matter. That's okay. 7 out of 8 won't be bad, surely. So anyway, before I get to like this next portion where like Nathan booked the Southern Cross and Kalgoorlie shows, so we play in Bunbury. Man, Bunbury is like a time warp. It feels like it's still the 90s down there. Because like the old chicken treat still had like the old logo and not like the new updated version. You know, all the businesses still had old looking, you know, buildings and stuff. I'm sure some of the phone numbers on the side of the buildings didn't have a 9 at the front, because that's what it used to be like beforehand. Like, that's fucking years ago. So, yeah, we play this show. I'm sick. Niall's sick. We have like a cold. Niall spends all night in bed until our set, and then afterward goes back to bed in the hotel. So we play this show. The crowd don't even fucking know who we are, and they're going crazy. It's like what gigs used to be like in Perth. Like, you just go to a gig and just didn't care who was playing. You just, you know, got shit out of your system and danced and had a great time. So it was wild, man. Bunbury is fucking wild. Prince of Wales is wild, man. So anyway, we encounter our first problem on this tour aside from the Albany thing. Now, I want to reiterate this. When I met Crash Rat, I'm the kind of guy that can party with them, and I jive with the way that they are and the way that they party and who they are. I get that, you know? I didn't think about the fact that maybe the other guys in Jackson Koke, putting them together with Crash Rat in the same room might be like oil and water. And I still don't really understand why there was no connection between the two bands on like just a regular level. It just seemed like it just clashed straight away. Oil and water is the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, I think Crash Rat were kind of expecting us to party harder that night. Niall was sick. I wasn't feeling well, but I still gave it a bit of a nudge. John had a few beers too. But, you know, some of the guys just wanted to go to bed. Crash Rat wanted to stay up and party. And I think OD took a little bit of exception to it, saying, man, I thought Jackson Koke knew how to party, or whatever it was that he said. Anyway. Yeah. Whatever had happened, it rubbed specifically Nathan and John the wrong way. Niall was out of this planet at the time anyway, high on cold and flu tablets, and I don't think Stewie cared either way. I'm sure Stewie probably felt like whatever Nathan said, Stewie would probably agree with, because they're best mates. And me, like, I was like disappointed that like there was a bit of a clash and it wasn't working, but I'm like, hopefully it'll be okay by the time we get to Kalgoorlie and everything will be all right. But yeah, so it wasn't off to the best start. But and when I look back, you know, I kind of feel a little embarrassed that I couldn't have somehow just got us to party harder. I mean, I was keen, but I'm a little bit embarrassed when I look back that we weren't able to like keep up with them. Yeah. But I just don't think like Nathan, John were those kind of guys that were interested in that kind of thing. They'd had a few beers, but they're not, you know, they're not going to be up until sunlight, I don't think. So
it's obviously, it can be difficult to sort of know exactly how chemistry is going to be, especially when you are sort of touring or have to hang out with someone on more than just one or two occasions. Yeah. But yeah, it can get super awkward.
And it's not on Nathan, John, and Stewie, because honestly, if I put this version of Jackson Koke now with Crash Rat, I don't think it would work again. And it's nothing against Jake, Luke, and Carl. I think that would be like oil and water again. I don't think the personalities would match very well. I can match with it, but I just don't think their personalities would match with it. So it's not on those guys. It's just some people are different. Some people party different.
But also like people, yeah, exactly. Like people have a different different background. Like for instance, like me, like for instance, I've been sober for nearly 2 years. You know, I've got 3 little kids. You know, so I'm not a big party person anymore. But that doesn't mean I can't play rock music and go to gigs still. You know what I mean? It's just a different. what's the right word for it? You know, it's dynamic, different frequency, I suppose. But yeah, there's lots of different ways of doing it. But anyway, back to the story. So you were playing in Kalgoorlie?
Yeah. So that was the first red flag. So I was a little bit concerned because we still had like 6 more shows to do together, and I didn't want there to be any more like confrontations. I mean, there wasn't a confrontation, but I just didn't want it to end badly. So anyway, okay, we booked the Kalgoorlie show, which is going to be on Saturday. Nathan tries to book the show at Southern Cross on the Friday, and the manager says to him, "Oh, well, you see, the week before we're having an event on here, and I don't think we really want to do 2 things like 2 weeks in a row." And I'm like, why? Why don't you want to have entertainment 2 weekends in a row? What's the big deal? You're doing fine financially, obviously, mate. You don't want to get any punters in there to come see some rock bands. Okay, well, that's fine. But I just found that to be really weird. So we're like, fuck, man, 2 out of 4 now aren't going to take place. So, like, I find that pretty hilarious. But, you know, Nathan tried, but it's not his fault. The manager just couldn't be fucked. So, but at least we had Kalgoorlie, right? And I was always excited to be able to say, hey, I want to be able to say I played in Kalgoorlie because, you know, I'm expecting Kalgoorlie to be wild like Bunbury, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. We get to Kalgoorlie and it is fucking cold and pissing down with rain. So,
really?
Yeah. So it's like, all right, well, it might not be a big turnout tonight. We set up the stage. We're doing our own sound. We don't have a sound guy. Oh, God. Anyway, I was sick still, so I had to sing every song an octave lower.
How do you just do that? An octave lower?
Man, it did sound very good, but, you know, we got through it, but we were entertaining enough that the crowd still kind of enjoyed us. But here's the thing, man. When we first set up to start playing, like everyone that was in there was sitting down and eating dinner.
Where did you play?
This is a Kalgoorlie hotel.
The Exchange Hotel?
The Kalgoorlie Hotel. I think it's called Judd's or something.
Right.
Yeah, so, like, people are just sitting down for dinner and we're about to start playing, like, Cesspool City, and I'm going to be screaming my ass off in a minute. But anyway, like, there were a few punters there, and funnily enough, you know, the guy that I mentioned, Leslie, who I was in that high school band with, he was actually working in Kalgoorlie at the time and saw I was in town and came along to see the gig. So that was, like, a pretty cool, like, something coming full circle thing. And I got a picture of me and him together there, and yeah, so that meant a lot to have him there. But yeah, anyway, we play our set. It's all right. Crash Rat play their set. There's a little bit of a problem. OD's had a little bit too much to drink, but it's okay. They still get through it okay. Anyway, I had kind of like my first argument, not really an argument, but bickering session with Nathan after the set and after the show. I'm now finally feeling pretty good. I'm having a few beers, you know, I'm planning on staying up pretty late, even though it's pissing down with rain, but it's just going to be the 2 bands in the hotel that night and no one else. So I thought, you know, we would try this Crash Rat Jackson Coke partying thing one more time. Well, Nathan was pretty adamant that we will be hitting the road very early because he just wanted to get back home.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, come on, man. We're on tour, man. Like, it's so lame. But, you know, I was adamant, like, come on, man, have a few beers and relax. And we had this little bickering session, and he wasn't impressed with how I spoke to him. But he explained things very, very, you know, easily to me once I had, like, you know, got off my high horse. And I realized he was right. Like, yeah, no one wants to be fucking hanging around until 11 o'clock for, like, you know, me to get out of bed or whatever. He wanted to hit the road early. So that was kind of like our first little bickering session, but I thought it was noteworthy to mention it. But yeah, anyway, as the night progresses, like, we're all laying down in our like, it's one room to 5 guys. We're all laying down on our beds or, you know, mattresses, blankets, whatever, and trying to get to sleep. But the Crash Rat guys, some of them are like partying in the room next door. and Stewie's actually out there partying with them too. But again, I think the guys were a little bit annoyed by the noise, and yeah, like they were pretty shut off with Crash Rat again. So, you know, and now I look back at it with, like, you know, the hindsight being 2020, you know, no one was doing anything wrong. Again, it was just a clash. It was oil and water. So, you know, and if I don't know if OD's watching this or whatever, but, you know, now that I look back, bro, if you watch this, like, I know that it wasn't as bad it was made out to be. Like, I know that there was like a bit of bad blood with Jackson Koke and Crash Rat after that. It was just all stupid. So anyway, after that show, we get back, and the guys are like pretty adamant that they don't want to continue the tour with them. We still had Fremantle booked. Rockingham fell through. So it was a recipe for disaster. So the guys just said, look, man, we don't really want to play this Fremantle show. Crash Rat went ahead and still did the show. Props to them on that. And it was a while before I saw OD again, but when I saw him, he just came straight up to me and gave me a hug and was like, I'm so sorry, man. And I'm like, dude, it's no one's fault. Don't worry about it. Like, it just wasn't meant to be. So that's the story of our first and only attempt at having a tour. 2 shows.
Oh shit! So it only became the one in Bunbury and the one in Kilgully. Yeah,
because then we didn't bother booking the Perth shows.
Yeah.
Rockingham fell through, so that was it. It was a disaster. So
shit. And what are we up to now, timeline wise?
I guess this is like mid to like maybe May 2016.
Oh right, okay. So we're still back in the early days of Jackson Koke.
That's right. Yeah, we only played like a few shows before doing this attempt at a tour. But yeah, I look at it now and I think that it was actually, like, I'm glad it kind of went the way it did, because we got, like, it felt like we were a tighter unit after that, going through that experience together. And like, there's, you know, we felt like it was a bit more of a brotherhood than before, where we were just like musicians in a band writing songs together. Now it felt like we were this tight-knit thing.
And what sort of like did you have sort of any ambitions back in the early days?
Man, I just wanted to take on the world. I didn't care. I just wanted to play the first gig, then finally have some songs recorded and released so we can hear them. I can show my friends and show my mum that all of this shit I've been doing all these years was worth it in the end, because I actually ended up doing something with it. So that was my ambition. Do that, put out some music, hopefully play over East, do a more successful tour attempt, get our name out there, play overseas, get better and better every single time we play. That's what my ambition was. Like, I wanted to take on the world. This was like, okay, it's happening now. I think that it's possible that, you know, I'm still at that stage. I was like in my late 20s. There's still a chance it could work, that I could like live off this one day maybe.
And in regards to sort of live a bit, I've made quite a few notes here as you were talking earlier, and we could probably sort of go a little bit sort of back and forth, sort of trying to recap on the last years from 2016 up to 2020 where we are now. But I'd love to actually go back and find out a bit about how you actually made money on the side. Because obviously, if you hadn't played any gig for at this point in time since high school, pretty much, then you mentioned you had done some professional wrestling. You've done some stand up. You were working at Toys R Us.
Well, that was when I was 21. When I went to Europe, I quit that job at that point.
Yeah. But so.
Sorry, keep going.
So where does wrestling and stand up enter the picture there? And was that something you actually made money on?
No, No. I only ever made $20 in the wrestling business, and that's because I commentated a wrestling show at the Malaga Markets.
Right.
And that was for EPW, Explosive Pro Wrestling, but I never wrestled for them. I wrestled for the Southern Hemisphere Wrestling Alliance, All Action Wrestling in Rockingham, and I also did a lot of backyard wrestling for the Warzone Wrestling Alliance, which you can find on YouTube. We had a ring in a backyard, and we did it for 5 long years. It's a long story. I don't want to get too deep into the wrestling stuff.
Yeah, okay.
This is like my other life that no one knows about. I did it for 18 years from the age of 12 until I was like 30 years old. And that's when I retired finally in 2017. So, yeah.
So you did it for 18 years. And did you say you never made any money from it?
No, because most of it was backyard wrestling. So it's just me and my mates mucking around in the backyard.
Gotcha. Of course, yeah. Oh, that it sounds like some fun stories there as well.
Oh, dude, fucking don't get me started. Like,
no, fair enough. All right, so in that case, let's try and jump back a bit to sort of where you finished off talking about before. So you said you really wanted to record some songs.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Well, we went up to Nathan's brother's place, who had a studio up in Southern Cross, in 2016 to start recording the songs that we had. And I don't really want to get too much into it because, you know, it's a bit of a sore spot for me and ex-band members, but we sat on these songs for like 2 years and like slowly but surely trying to add more to it. John left the band during this process, and that's another frustrating part of it, was trying to find a replacement for him, which I can get into whenever you want. But yeah, it was a frustrating experience for all of us, I think, because we're still trying to figure out how to do this thing, and we're doing it on our own. We weren't doing it through like a actual company or a true professional. It was like something that was like Nathan wanted to kind of see if he could do this. And so, you know, we wanted to give him the reins and stuff, but as time wore on, just shit kept getting in the way, I think, for all of us. And, you know, and I'll get to that bit later on, but yeah, when John left the band, that was a real, I believe that was February of 2017. That was really, that put us on hold for about 6 months. Like, we didn't do a hell of a lot because it took us so long to find a replacement.
Yeah. Well, usually, yeah, that's you see that all the time when you lose a band member. Like, you very often lose momentum.
Yeah.
Because like you go.
Oh no, I saw the writing on the wall with John, because like he had mentioned to me that him and his wife were thinking about starting a family. So I was like, right. I reckon that we won't fit into those plans because there's no way. Like, having a baby is very difficult, as I'm sure you know. And also, like, I find the story funny. I don't know if it's going to be funny to anyone else, but if anyone out there that knows the venue that was called Hen House Live, it was the smaller room attached to Badlands Bar. I'm not sure if you ever went there, bro, but
no, I think I walked past it a couple of times.
Yeah, it's a very small room. You can only fit maybe 20 people in there to watch you, and you're kind of like playing on the floor. So we got booked there for a gig, and I think at that point we played a few shows, but I think maybe at that point John might have had enough of like playing the small shows in front of barely any people. So when he walked in the room, he was carrying his stuff, and he walked up to me. He hadn't even said hello yet, and he just looked around and went, "This is fucking shit." And I don't know, I just find it funny that he had such a foul attitude because the room was small. And like, then when I heard him say that, I'm like, man, he's not going to last much longer. And eventually he did say that he wanted to move on, but the big shout out to him. Like, he's a really, really nice guy. And I'm really happy that him and his wife have been able to start a family together. But that started off this frustrating period of time of fucking auditions and trying to find someone else.
But so how did that go? Like, so you mentioned you had about 6 months of sort of finding your feet again.
I didn't think I was talking so much. I'm only 3 beers in. I've got a little cooler of beers out here. Anyway, so he had left the band. We played one last gig with him at the Rosemount, supporting the Midnight Mules, who are playing on Coke Fest this Saturday. And we had this guy who previously auditioned for us, Jake Bignell, who is now our guitar player. We still had some shows that we needed to play. So he filled in for us on those shows, but he wasn't interested in really being in the band at that stage. I might be getting my timeline mixed up a little bit, but this is how I remember it anyway. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we played these shows with him, and, he helped us out and moved on his merry way. And, man, the auditions, everyone's got their horror stories for auditions. Everyone. I remember one time before I is even in that band Snakebite, me and Les, we met up with these 2 guys from perthbands.com. We met up with these 2 guys in fucking Bibra Lake. You have to remember, we lived in fucking Joondalup at that time, so it was a long drive. Oh, we get there, and the drummer only has a hi-hat and a snare. What the fuck are we going to do with that?
What? Wow.
No, right?
Why would he even put himself out there?
Fuck me dead, man. Like, what a nightmare. All that way, and we just sat there for like 20 minutes. No one knew what to do. So me and Les were like, all right, well, great jam, guys. We'll see you down the line. That's from fucking years ago, but like now here comes more of the fucking same old shit with auditions. You have people who book in saying, oh, I'm keen. And then on the day, oh, nah, I don't really feel like I can do this, or I'm not really into it, or whatever. And it's like, you fucker, we just booked the room. You need 24 hours notice when you cancel, so we got to still go and fucking play as a 4-piece. Thanks a lot. And pay extra money because we don't have a 5th person. Oh, I remember this one guy came in, and I could tell straight away this wasn't going to work out because he walked in. He had long black hair. He was wearing a denim vest over a leather jacket, which had a Black Label Society patch on the back. He seemed like an okay enough guy, but just a stone face, did not smile when he said hello, just walked in and sets his shit up. And, we said, oh, no, what did you think of the songs? Because we sent him along our demos. And he said, oh, yeah, nah, they were all right. I wasn't too keen on the AC/DC vocals, though. I was like, oh, fuck you. Fuck you, dude. You've been in this room 10 seconds, you've already burned me. And I want to say this, I never intended to sound like Bon Scott sometimes. It's just what comes out when I sing. My influences are Steven Tyler, Billy Idol, Alice Cooper, and Axl Rose. He said that, and then he plugs in, we start trying to play Cesspool City, and it's just fucking just distortion. Like he's fucking trying out for Slayer or some shit, and we're like, whoa, clean that shit up, bro. It's not like that. We are not a fucking thrash metal band. We are a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
So anyway, that didn't work out. By the end, after I screamed my ass off enough, he said, oh, I didn't mind that actually in the end. Maybe I can come back again next week. And we're like, we'll let you know. We didn't let him know. It was not going to happen.
Broke up with him over Messenger.
Yeah. And yeah, just people no-showing a lot. And I remember the straw that broke the camel's back when I had a fucking hissy fit. I lost it. And it wasn't this person's fault, but it's just, it was this girl. I don't know how old she was, maybe in the late 20s or something like that. She'd applied. And we're like, cool, man. That'd be great to have a girl in the band. That'd be a cool dynamic because like I always liked the Smashing Pumpkins dynamic of having the token girl in the band that did her thing. Anyway, she said she'd learned the songs, so we started playing, and like 10 seconds in, she stops playing. And so like Nathan tries to like kind of teach her what to do and how to do things, and she seems like a little bit clueless of what she's doing. And then we try playing again, and again she stops playing, and like I'm starting to be like, what's going on here? What's the problem? Anyway, like not long after, we were like, okay, well, you know, thanks a lot, we'll let you know. And she left the room, and I was mad. I was fucking fuming, and it's none of the guys' fault. I was just mad that we had our time wasted again, and it had been like 6 months at this point. And I'm like, when is this going to fucking happen for us? Please don't tell me this is going to fucking fizzle out just as I finally got something going, you know? And I then later found out that she'd only been playing guitar for like 3 months.
Right.
And not mad at her, just mad at the situation. And me thinking to myself, all these months we've been fucking putting out these advertisements to get someone to fucking to try out for us. Why the fuck doesn't someone who's decent, who is good, what's wrong with my band? What's wrong with my band? What's wrong with our songs? What's wrong? Is it me? Why doesn't anyone fucking decent want to play for our band? Why are people who've only been playing guitar a couple of months, who don't even know how to play, why are they thinking that they can just play our songs with us? Are our songs that simple and sounding, and are they that shit that anyone can fucking play them? Like, that sounds really, like, dramatic, but that's what went through my mind. Like, what is wrong with my band? Why doesn't anyone want to, like, play for us? Yeah. Because I had all these friends on my list that were guitar players in Perth, but none of them had applied or anything like that. So anyway, I was mad, and I was worried that this was gonna fizzle out. And Nathan had been kind of pushing to make it a 4-piece, but we kind of soon realized after that the sound of the band really did need 2 guitars.
Right.
So anyway, Jake fucking pops up and says that, you know, like he said he enjoyed himself when he played with us, and now he was kind of feeling like maybe he would like to join. So I ran this by the guys, you know, like we jammed with him again, and like, you know, Stewie was excited, Niall was excited, I was excited, but Nathan kept going, I'm not sure. And I'm like, why though? He's so fucking good. Like, he's really good. Like, we got another shredder on our hands here, bro. Anyway, I soon find out, like, Nathan admits to me the next time we go to practice, like, oh, yeah, no, I was kind of bullshitting. I was just a bit worried because he's, like, really good, and I was just worried about, like, he was threatened by him. Like, he was worried that, like, he would lose his spot in the band as the lead guitarist or whatever. And I'm like, dude, don't. Like, we started this band together. Trust me, it's fine. Like, give him a little bit. Give him a few solos here or there. But, you know, don't be worried. It's all good.
Yeah.
You know, we got someone who's actually good, who's got long hair, who's slim. The girls like him. Let's get him in. Let's get him on board. I'm keen. Let's do it. Everyone else was keen. And so Nathan kind of was like, all right, fine, you know, let's give this a try. But, like, I would say after that, things just, I don't know, man. Things just weren't the same as they were before. Like, I don't know. Like, it's really hard for me to, like, figure this out because I never really got to have a good, honest, you know, solid conversation with Nathan where we weren't pissed off with one another about what really was going on during that time period. And, like, I don't want to, like, this is hard for me to talk about. I knew that I had to talk about. And like, I've always felt like, I probably shouldn't talk about Nathan and Stewie anymore. But, like, I want to feel like I should be able to talk about them because they're really important to the history of this band, and they're not in the band anymore. And it really hurts to know that you know, that band that we started together, now those two are gone. But, like, it's just circumstances, man. I've realized after this time, I haven't spoke to him in maybe a year and a half. It's just circumstances as to why that it wasn't working with us anymore. And I think, I don't know.
Well, it is a relationship. So obviously sometimes people break up. Sometimes you go a different path in life and different, like people grow. And as you grow, obviously sometimes you grow apart. I could tell you many similar stories that from previous bands as well. It is just a part of that evolution.
But
it sucks. It is. Yeah, it is.
It's hard because like the moment that a working relationship like that and a personal relationship feels fractured, it's so hard to get back to where you were before with them.
Yeah.
You know, and people always say things like, oh, why doesn't this band from back in the day get back together? You know, they hate each other or whatever. Why can't they just talk it out? No. When it's fractured to a point where the communication just doesn't work anymore, it just doesn't work anymore. And I don't know if maybe I'm a fucking annoying person or if I'm irritating or something. I can get pretty passionate about things. And when I feel like the wheels aren't spinning at the speed that we should be at a certain point in time, you know, maybe me getting on everyone's ass about it could get fucking, you know, frustrating, especially if they're busy with other things going on in their life and they are entering a certain period of their life. And that's why I want to say this about circumstances. You know, Nathan was studying. He was studying at uni and it was taking up a lot of his time. And he was also working as an electrician, so he's inundated in a lot of this stuff. But like me, Niall, and Jake, Stewie, we still want to like keep things going and let's try and get the recordings finished and shit like that. But he was so busy with all that, it's just circumstances. And now I look back and I think it's not anyone's fault. It's not our fault. It's not his fault. It's not Stewie's fault. It's just circumstances. He had now entered a new time in his life, and it probably was very hard for him to come to terms with this thing that he had created with me, the thought that he might have to leave it behind because he couldn't put in the time or the passion that it needed because he's busy with this other stuff and he's trying to move on to this next phase in his life. And I think that's where things started to go downhill.
Well, that's again priorities. Like if you choose to down prioritize music for something, in lack of a better word, something more sustainable, because I think that's what a lot of upcoming bands struggle with. Is the fact is, you know, like you can't make money on it. You're investing all this time and effort into it. Spend 6 months where you you struggle to get momentum because you need to replace band members and stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff can be draining. And if you at the same time lose a little bit of your heart to it, because you can see, look, other things might come up, like starting a family is massive. It's impossible for anyone who doesn't have kids to fathom how much of a change it makes in your life. So again, having those circumstances happen to you, it's like you said, it's no one's fault. It's no one's fault. It's just life. It's because
and at the time you evolved. It's their fault. At the time, I thought it was 100%. 100%. At the time, he thought it was my fault. It's neither of our fault. We were just moving into different ways of life. We're at a crossroads, and we're going to have to admit that this isn't working anymore, and we're going to have to part ways. And you know, I mean,
well, it's almost like you'd be holding
deep into it, man.
No.
Like he wouldn't look at me. Sometimes he wouldn't. We'd be at rehearsal. He wouldn't even look at me, and fuck, man, that broke my heart. And I used to message him all the time at like 2 a.m. saying, what can we do to fix this? What can we do? What can we do? It was heartbreaking. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know if he'll ever see this or if he's even interested in knowing how I feel about it, but it was heartbreaking to know that this was just not working anymore. And he finally did admit that he just couldn't do it anymore. And he wanted to focus on, you know, this new part in his life and all that. So like, I think it was February 16th, 2019. We played at the Friends and All Festival, Manhattan's festival, and that was Nathan's last show with us.
Right. So that's fairly recent. So now we're up to recent times.
Well, I think I have to talk about Stewie as well, man. Like I've talked about Nathan. I should talk about Stewie and why he's not in the band anymore.
Yep.
And again, it's circumstances. You know, me, Niall, and Jake are now in a spot where we have to find someone to replace Nathan, and that's a hard person to replace. Luckily, Jake has a younger brother, Luke, who's also a fucking shredder. So Jake was teaching Luke the songs. During this time period, there was about 2 months where we knew that February 16th was going to be Nathan's last show. So we had a couple of months there where Luke could learn the songs with Jake or whatever, and we were going to go in that direction. But like me, Jake, and Niall had kind of discussed the situation with Stewie. And again, it's circumstances. Stewie is a wonderful human being. So much fun to be around, a fucking laugh and a half. But Stewie his hobby is playing drums. It's not his obsession. We need a drummer whose obsession is playing drums. And if he's not practicing at home every night of the week or a few nights a week, and he's only practicing when we're rehearsing, and he's still not playing the songs the way that they were written, me, Niall, and Jake just talked about it, and we were just like, we're going to have to probably move on. We're going to have to. And I was adamant that when we have this conversation with him, because he's such a lovely person, that we sit down with him the way that I should have been sat down with my old band that kicked me out. We're going to sit down with him. We're going to get a pint of beer of each, and we're going to explain to him why he's not going to be in the band going forward. We're going to be as respectful as possible and answer any questions he has. We weren't going to give him an ultimatum and give him 6 months to get better, because that just seems like so much pressure and so unfair to do that to someone where they're going to be like under the microscope for 6 months. You know, it just doesn't seem fair to do that to someone. So like that idea was out. But, to any of the other bands that ever played with us, if you never knew the reason why, that's the reason why. And I had such a hard time with it. And if anyone thinks that it was such an easy decision, you're wrong. I shed tears over this because I knew it would be breaking his heart, but it was the best thing for the band at the time, unfortunately. And, we just had to move on from it. And yeah, so that's another thing that I just felt like it was important to explain, because, Nathan and Stewie are incredibly important to the history of Jackson Koke. And as far as I'm concerned, they're still members of the band. It's just they're not playing with us anymore.
It's beautiful, man. But
I just worry that if I bring them up, they're going to be pissed off at me for bringing them up and talking about them and all that. But I don't want any bad blood anymore. I don't want them to walk away from it thinking that all the good memories that we had are now shit because of bad feelings and all that. I hope they can still look back and think of like the fun times that we had.
Well, it's the whole thing about ex-partners, isn't it? You. But
I'm not friends with any of my ex-girlfriends. Like, I couldn't even imagine trying to talk to any of those people. You know what I mean? Like,
slightly different, but it's the same sort of awkwardness.
Definitely awkward.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's maybe try and dig into something hopefully a little bit more positive now. So, you guys have recorded some songs, or you have at least recorded a single that'll be released on the weekend.
Yeah. So obviously with the lineup changes, it's like starting from scratch again. You got to teach these two new guys all your songs. Very difficult for two people to join a band and have to learn like 10 songs that you weren't a part of the writing process of before we can even get to a song that is an original one that you're a part of. So that's how it is when you join an original band, though. That's it. Yeah. So we spent all of 2019 just playing some shows and trying to get the band to gel. Like, man, it felt so weird and it sounded so weird at first playing those songs without Nathan and Stewie. Like, it was never like when John left the band, it still sounded the same, but when those two left at first, it felt really weird. It sounded weird, but eventually we got there, and now like the songs, like they're great. You know, we have dropped a few from the set that we used to have, but anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, like, you know, getting to a recording situation had to take a little bit of time because we really needed to get the guys up to speed and get the band tight.
Yep.
And so it had to be September, I think, last year. Michaela, who is a sound girl at the Bassendean Hotel, she has a little startup company called Mixtape. And she had approached us and said that she fucking loved our band and that she would like to record something with us. And as she said, she would do it for free, just because she was just starting out. So we thought we would, okay, that sounds great. Let's do Axe to Grind. Because it's like the most popular song in our set, probably. Everyone seems to love that song. And that's the song that I wrote about my old band. So,
nice.
So, yeah, so we started recording it with her, and it took a few months because I got sick. Like, I actually had the actual flu. I thought that all those years that I had, like, the man flu and the cold, it was just a cold. It was just a cold. This was an actual flu. I didn't get out of bed for 3 days except for, like, 4 hours out of, like, 72 hours. I couldn't even I had to be helped to get in the shower. I was so fucked up. So after that, my throat was fucked, and like it took so long for me to get back the strength that I needed. It was almost like I had to reteach myself how to sing. I'd been so unwell. So like that took a lot of time out of it, you know, like I had to go in several times, like, you know, I'd say at least 10 times to get all my vocals done because some tough vocals on that song. But, you know, time wore on. Little bit of a break after Christmas and all that, but then of course COVID-19 happens. We were just about ready to release it and do a show, but then that happens and it's like, fuck you. On the back burner again. But thankfully Perth's in a pretty good position now, and that's when I was like, okay, let's fucking do this. Let's release this thing. And it's our first, I don't know how many years the band's been together now. Like, what does that make it? 4 and a bit years. Our first actual fucking song is going to be released.
Wow. So is this your first recording?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's because of all the problems with the old lineup.
Yeah,
and
of
not being able
course.
to complete anything because of the problems. That's why we couldn't get anything released. If anyone's wondering why there's still nothing of us on Spotify after all this fucking time. But, yeah, so just that transitional period and COVID is now – it put it back on the back burner. But, like, I would say by the end of the year we're going to have more songs recorded and put out. Like, this is going to, like, be the start of getting some momentum on that and getting some of our tunes out there.
Cool, man. I'm sure a lot of people will be looking forward to that. I can't believe this day and age, man, that you've been around for so long and it's your first single.
Ridiculous, man. It pissed me off so much when bands came onto the scene after us, and they already had songs out, music videos out. Like, I think like Spud Gun came like into the scene like several years after we had started, and they already like had stuff out there, and I'm like, fuck, why are we so disorganized?
But again, you had your reasons, and that's it. Like, there's always an explanation behind it.
You got it.
But so do you feel like you are in a pretty good spot now to sort of to take the current band lineup to take that forward?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the only like slight issue there is that like 3 of the guys in the band are school teachers. So might be difficult if we get an opportunity to go somewhere or do something and them having to try and like get time off work or whatever. But that's like something that's probably far down the line anyway. But you know, they got holidays. You know, they get a 6-week holiday. So.
Well, so what sort of future plans would you have? You mentioned obviously COVID is sort of putting a big sort of spanner in the works for everybody around the world.
It's fucked everything up, hasn't it? It's fucking bullshit, this thing. This is bullshit. You know, you would think that like, oh, this is just like something that would happen in a movie, but the movie would actually be fun and exciting, and the real life thing is fucking boring and shit. COVID
is insane. Like again, like literally what it has done to the whole world is just unfathomable, man. But yeah, as you mentioned as well, like being in Perth, we're in this little bubble. Yeah, sort of so isolated from the rest of the world. So
but we're lucky in that sense. For the first time ever, it's played to our advantage of being the most isolated city in the world because we don't have any fucking outbreaks going on right now, and everything's sweet, and we can actually do gigs in the Perth Rocks Festival. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and again, like it's a huge advantage to the upcoming scene as well because like you can pretty much only go and check out the local bands.
Exactly, and like hopefully it gives it a shot in the arm, you know. I am getting pissed off seeing like all these tribute bands selling out their shows, and I'm like, come on, guys, buy a $12.25 ticket to Koke Fest and come see some local bands. Like the Pearl Jam tribute band I just saw last weekend, sold out at Badlands. Fucking, it was packed to the rafters, man. And like they're getting sellouts, but I want people to start giving the local shit a chance. Like people used to back in the day. You would go with a bunch of your friends to see a band or a bunch of bands you didn't know. You'd buy their EPs at the end of the night. You'd become a fan of theirs, and then rinse and repeat the following weekend. That's what we got to get back to.
But do you reckon Perth bands maybe geek too much?
I think some maybe do. Some like. We don't want to play too much anymore. Hail Mary don't play too much anymore. Ragdoll don't play too much anymore because if you play too much, the crowds will start to thin out. If you are able to play a lot and pull a crowd every time, fucking good work, mate. You've done something right. But we're still not at the stage of being able to do that. I mean, I don't know if we've actually got any actual fans that we're not already friends with or already know. So we need to get to that point at some point.
And sort of what in regards to your online presence, let me just put your credentials up again here. So how are you sort of utilizing the internet to your advantage?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I'm shit at this stuff. I do try, but like once the single is out, and we bring the band back onto the scene, I kind of want it to seem like it's more of a professional outfit than before. Like I want to get a lot more merch made. I want to get a big banner to put behind the band. I want a drum skin that says Jackson Koke. I want to get all that shit sorted and out of the way. And then I want to start really fucking driving the we're going to have to make a new YouTube channel because I got locked out of our old one.
Oh, really?
Because I had to change my phone number because this fucking guy kept on fucking stalking me and wouldn't leave me the fuck alone. And he found my phone number somewhere and he wouldn't fucking leave me alone. So I had to change my phone number, not thinking that, when you try to log into YouTube, you need to like be sent a code because apparently your password isn't just enough anymore. You need to be sent a code even though you got your password correctly. Like what the fuck is up with that?
Surely you can change that though.
Nah, you can't. Like, and there's no one from YouTube that you can contact about it. All you can do is put a post up in their forums complaining about it, and someone says, "Yeah, too bad, so sad." It's bullshit.
Really? No, surely not.
Nah, there's nothing. Right. If anyone out there has a solution to my problem, please let me know. But we're gonna have to make a new YouTube channel. When we do, we're gonna start putting out some content, start putting out some funny stuff. I'm gonna get my camera out a bit more and start filming some more shit. And like I don't know if you saw this thing I put up the other day where I filmed a song from every band set at Perth Rocks.
I saw that.
Some backstage footage. Like I want to start doing that at all of our shows and like putting together like a a little thing where it's like a bunch of, behind the scenes, one song from each support band or whatever, and then when we play, our full set is on at the end of the thing, just to put some shit out there and
absolutely,
and make it fun. So
everything helps. Everything helps.
So I really want to get onto all of that shit and start like utilizing online stuff more.
Well, I was like your band photo looks sensational. Like that's super pro.
Hey, that's a shout out to Isabel Halbrich. I think that's how you pronounce the surname. She's one of my best friends in the whole wide world, and she shot some great pictures of us a little while back. And man, anyone who wants some great band photos, check out Isabel's shit. She is the bomb.
Yeah, no, like your band photos are definitely on par. Yeah,
we look like Guns N' Roses, bro.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you got that very authentic look, man, to be like a full-on rock band.
Yeah, man. I mean, you see the picture that we got as our cover photo?
Yeah.
How fucking cool do we look, man?
Yeah,
that's what I mean, his sexy bald fucking head there, and Jake with all that hair on his head, and me just looking like a badass, and Niall with his little mohawk, and Luke looking really cool and clean cut, Man, that's a sweet pic.
It is. It's very pro. Like, and it's a really good sort of like a brand image for the band.
Well, that was the first thing when this new lineup got together. I'm like, we're doing a fucking photo shoot already. I've been trying for years to get us organized for a photo shoot, and I just could never get it together because everyone was always busy or whatever. And so when we got that done, it looks fucking good.
Yeah, wicked, man. So what have you got any other sort of things lined up in regards to the sort of like branding or the promotion for the band? Like obviously like we got a photo shoot now. Looks on point. Have you planning a website or music videos, anything?
Probably not going to worry about the website. At one stage, I was very concerned about not having a website, but man, no one fucking visits those things now. Like everyone visits the Facebook page or whatever. So, kind of not really interested in the website, but look, I'd love to try and get something together to record a music video for Axe to Grind. I'd like to work with someone and put a bit of money into it and make it look nice. And of course, we're recording, I think it's like 5 more songs this year we're going to try. So once we get them done and get them out, I'd like to do a music video for all of them. I think like back in the day, years ago, wasn't it all about like just you put out a single? Didn't really put out like an album too often. It was all about singles, and maybe we're in that era again where, we don't need an album of songs where a couple of the songs are like just like kind of throwaway songs. Maybe like every song that you put out is an excellent song, an excellent single. Maybe that's the era we're in now.
But it's such a funny conversation, and I love having. This is one of my favorite conversations to have. Is actually to hear people's opinion on whether singles, EPs, albums are more relevant, and the reasons why. Personally, I mean, I do prefer albums, but that's mainly because if I discover a brand new band and I can only hear 2 or 3 singles, I'd be like, what the fuck? And and then personally, if you don't have a really good pipeline of singles coming out very, very quickly thereafter, I might lose interest and forget about it and move on.
Yeah, that's true.
But if you have someone who's putting out a single, like a lot of the bands that I've had on here, like usually, like people send me 1 or 2 songs and I go like, fuck, if this is something I really like, the first thing I do is, I'll look it up and see if there's an album on Spotify or Apple Music. And if there's an album, I would just put it on my car when I'm driving to work or to the gym or something like that. But if there's only a couple of singles, you lose out on it after
absolutely
10 minutes.
No, I totally get what you're talking about, man. Like, I would love to put out a full album or an EP or whatever like that. I love having the physical copy in front of me. I'd love to get it put
That's
on
a whole
vinyl.
different
I'd love
thing.
I'd love to get a CD with a little booklet and all that shit. The Caballeros did this. I don't know if you've heard of them, but like they were really interested in utilizing dead media, like cassette tapes and they're putting out a VHS of a performance that they put on. I thought that was very creative. You have no fucking way of being able to watch it unless you
I was about to say you can't watch it. I don't even know where you would get a VHS, man. Put it out on Betamax or something.
Yeah.
Laserdisc.
Man, our next album's only coming out in 8-track, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. I think that's probably not necessary, in my opinion. I would say, look,
no, it's not really, but I just thought it was really interesting that they did that.
Stick to digital. Maybe put out some limited vinyls or something.
I'd like to have some physical copies because some people still have CD players in their car.
Yeah,
so we'll when we do eventually do something like that, we'll put out singles and then we'll put them all together into like one package which would be an album with some extra songs, so to entice you to get the actual album. I'm just gonna throw an idea out here that might accelerate it a little bit. One of the cool local photographers, Chris Symes, has asked a lot of bands about if they're gonna put out some live albums. He likes his live albums. That's cool.
And that's actually a really good and really easy way for bands to actually get some content out.
I dig it.
So maybe that was something you could look at when you have your.
Sounds great, actually. Chris,
your next show.
Chris is fucking gorgeous. Have you ever met Chris?
Yeah, I met him at the gig at the Electric State.
I like to always say that to him every time I see him. I'm like, mate, you're so good looking. It gets a little bit awkward, but he's a handsome man right there. I've got a lot of time for Chris. He's very talented, and that is a great idea. I might put that by the guys. Yeah,
and that's again something you can do. It's rather inexpensive, you obviously need to pay someone to mix it later, and like to make sure that the actual final product comes out well. But it's like you're there already. You're on stage. You're recording it live. It's rock and roll. There might be a small fuck ups here and there, and a solo that's not 100% spot on, or someone drops a drumstick or whatever.
I wouldn't have to worry about the other guys. I just have to worry about myself not sounding like shit.
Yeah, but then again, the other beautiful thing about it is you could record, if you have a couple of shows coming up, you could record all shows and you could grab the best songs from each set.
That's
and then you could compile them into a live album. And usually what you see is
Guns N' Roses Live Era, that album's
a lot of bands are doing that, So again, and even the ones, just one of my favorite ones I think of is an old Rammstein DVD, Live in Berlin. One of the first ones that they released was recorded over 2 or 3 nights. Again, where you're playing the same show. It looks like the same show, but it's actually recorded over multiple shows. But regardless of that, I understand this is a very different scale when you're playing Badlands and Amplifier and stuff like that. But again, but the final product is the same. It is still you recording like the individual tracks. You bring them down on a digital desk, or you bring an audio interface and record them through your Pro Tools on your laptop, or whatever. But then you hand them over to someone to make them sound nice, and that's effectively all you got to pay for. Which can be done for a couple of $100.
Wow. Okay, I'm digging it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the idea. I'm utilizing it. That's it.
Yeah, good, man. Well, look, that's what this show is all about. It's all about coming up with ideas and sharing them, throwing them out there. Yep.
Cool.
So anyway, and again, this is not my idea, by the way. It's Chris's. So that's why I'm saying shout out to him.
Chris will put your name in the booklet.
And if you release it on vinyl, I'm sure he'll buy it because he digs his vinyls.
Right. Excellent. Okay. So, it's happening.
Yeah. Fantastic, man. All right. Well, let's try and if anyone out there has, I can see there's a lot of questions already, but if anyone else has some questions, start firing away and we'll try and get onto a Q&A shortly.
You know what I want to do, bro?
What do you want to do? Tell me.
I want to put 3 bands right now in Perth on the spot.
Go for it.
Not a bold spot, not a liver spot, not your dog spot. I'm putting them on the spot, okay? Spud Gun, Hail Mary, Amber Down, 2021. Let's do a WA tour. The 4 bands, us 4, up north, down south, out east, back in Perth. Let's do some shit, boys. That's 4 lethal rock bands right there, man. That is.
Oh yeah.
That is some stories of drunken escapades waiting to happen. I'm putting this on the spot. Again, not a bald spot, not a liver spot, not your dog spot. On the spot. We're doing it.
Sounds good. Okay. Sounds good. Well, I saw Spot Guns. They're pretty crazy live, man. With their beer bongs and everything, man.
Yeah, dude, don't put them on before you. Electric State were very smart to have them in the evening.
Probably very good for public liability insurance as well, man.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you watched any of the other shows I've done, but I think that I ask everybody is if they have any sort of tips and tricks, any good advice, anything to share with any other bands, any other people watching that would be in the industry. You've obviously you've had a pretty rough ride, I must say. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff that you've learned from that. If there's anything that you might want to share.
Fuck, man. I've never really thought about this before.
Well, I can tell you my opinion very, very briefly. You have been, from what you've told me, man, you've been extremely persistent and believed in yourself. I think that is probably my biggest takeaway from our conversation is the fact is that, you but you finish high school and you go like, shit, I want to be in a band. Not only do you actually move overseas, which is something a lot of people go and say, I want to do this, I should do this. You did that. You tried it out. But what are you thinking? You were dreaming and you were following your dream. Yeah.
Yes.
So hats off for that, because that's something a lot of people never do. So that is my first point. Second point is you come back and you grind it out here. You know, you have this band where you try and you get people in and it doesn't happen. And you have another band that kicks you out and stuff like that. And you don't give up. Like, I think a lot of people need to look themselves in the mirror and say, how much more would you have? How much more of a beating would you take and keep walking?
Yeah, man. Like, if Jackson Koke didn't work out, that would have been me saying, okay, this obviously isn't for me. But I'm driving with what you're saying, man.
But I was about to say, I actually don't believe that. I think you would have kept going. I think that's in you. And because if it would have taken 12 years or 13 or 15 years, the fact is that you keep, because you're almost there all the time. You're like, oh, I can see it now. I can see over the fence. So again, well, the good thing about it is we'll never know, because Jackson Koke did go ahead. You are playing now. You are living your dream to one extent. Yeah, I understand you might want to take that further, but right now you're doing what you dreamed about when you finished high school. You are actually gigging, and people are digging it, and you're loving it. So
I can't believe it, man. I can't believe
it's awesome, man. I'm honest. I'm so happy for you, man, because again, you have achieved it. You have achieved what you set out for. So now it's just how you're gonna escalate it from there, how the road is going to be moving forward from here, and that's again the exciting part. So, but sorry, that was me. Just completely rambling up, yeah. But anyway,
tell me more about me. I love it.
Well, again, that basically all I want to say is like that mindset is worth gold, because that is something that can take you wherever you want to go if you keep believing. If you keep believing that,
I guess persistence is key. And
persistence, everything.
I'll tell you what,
consistency and persistence.
I'll tell you what, I probably only put about 50% of what I've got into this so far. I could put in way more effort than I have been. Like I've had problems over the years in all this shit. So that's a lot of that has kind of held me back from shit. But if I gave 110%, fuck, man, that's dangerous.
What's stopping you?
I just need the time.
What's stopping you from doing that?
Well, financial stability be able to put money into something. I've not been looking after myself the last few years.
Well, that's something you control. So that's something you can change. Yep.
I don't want to get too deep into it, but I had a friend commit suicide, and I had my childhood best friend, David, pass away. And when those things happened, it set me off. And I've been drinking way too much. But only just recently, when I got my tax return, I said I'm utilizing this money to get myself a personal trainer and a nutritionist to get myself into a more healthy state of mind and get my body back, hopefully, to my teenage girl's body that I once had. Get myself to be the best Carl that I could be, or the best Karlifornia I can be.
Karlifornia, yeah. Carl!
And I gotta get that sorted out first before I can give that 110%. And I'm on the path. Like, I'm still sore from last week. I've had my first 2 sessions with this guy. Shout out to Bioweapon Fitness. He works out at Selby's gym, but he's a Muay Thai fighter. His name's Cameron, and he works out at Selby's gym. So if anyone's looking to get fit, get themselves, in good shape. If you got a little bit of, because personal trainers can be a little bit expensive. If you've got a little bit of money spare, go there, man. He's great. He's motivating the shit out of me. He messages me every day to check up on my diet, and I've now quit
awesome.
Coca-Cola. I've now quit sugar, except for beer, obviously. That's going to be a little bit hard to get rid of that one, but I'm scaling back and all that stuff, and I'm going to get myself to be the best I can be, so I can put in that 110% and just be balls to the wall like I was with Perth Rocks Festival 2019. I'd never been more busier and motivated in my life when I did that. So that's where I'm at right now.
That's good to hear. And you're spot on. Like, you're gonna, not that you want to go and say like your body's a temple and all that bullshit, but it's so important to be fit. It is so underrated. If
anyone out there's got depression, I'm telling you, man, exercise fixes it. It really does. You need it. If you're not exercising, then you're not on the step to getting out of the funk that you might be in. Yep. And I've been in a funk for a very long time, and
that's good to hear you doing something, man.
Man, to go from what I used to be like, Mr. Fitness, tennis, captain of the tennis team, or cross-country team, football team, Junior Perth Wildcat, to just fucking
backyard wrestler
to 16 years of just partying and all this stuff. Exercise is the first step to getting out of your funk, and I think that's an important message to send out there, because I know a lot of musicians suffer from depression and things like that, and that's why we're creative people, because I think you have to go to those dark places in life in order to be able to talk about them and have something interesting to say.
100%. 100%.
That's the shit, bro.
Yeah. And I think another massive factor in it is also that I wouldn't say instability, but that uncertainty about, like your story is a perfect example of that. The fact is that everything, you're so reliant on so many factors, like other band members, fans, people won't go out and buy a $10 ticket to come and see an original band, but they'll pay $20 to go and see a tribute band stuff. Like all that, it's such a deadbeat industry to go into to begin with. So I got all the odds against you, but you're doing it for the passion. But that can cause a lot of stress and anxiety.
Oh man, all the time. Of course. I'm smoking. I'm an idiot. I should be smoking right now. I did quit for a few months, but I got back on it because of COVID. And awaiting my vape juice to arrive. And it was a long weekend that was coming up, and it didn't arrive in time. And I knew that I was going to be having a little soiree at my house. So I knew I needed something to smoke, and now I'm stuck back on it again. Fuck. But yeah, I'm not really feeling too well this week. I've got a little bit of a cold, so I'm hoping by Saturday I've recovered.
Well, hopefully, man. Actually, do you just want to do a quick shout out to Saturday? We'll actually finish off. I'll get you to introduce the song we're going to finish off on, but you have a gig coming up here. I'm just going to put the flyer up here on Rosemount Hotel.
Yep. Coke Fest 2.
Boom.
We had the first Coke Fest. Oh, God. When Nathan Stewie was still in the band, we played it. We did it at the Bassendean Hotel. It must have been a couple of years ago. Obviously, we didn't do one last year because we were getting the new lineup together. But, yeah, like that was kind of like the precursor to the Perth Rocks Festival. I had 4 awesome rock bands at the Bassendean Hotel that night: Sister Switchblade, Hail Mary, and Legacy Alive. And so I really like this Coke Fest idea because essentially all it is just a regular gig. But if you come up with a concept and make it sound like it's something bigger than it is, then maybe people will come along. Just putting on, just a regular show or just saying this is a single launch, it sounds good and all, but I think calling it Coke Fest 2 Axe to Grind, that sounds like an event to be a part of. And we've got some fucking awesome bands on the bill, man. We've got the Midnight Mules. I don't know if you're aware of them too much, but that's Tom Mantle from Big Tomo Presents. That's his band. And Chris, the guitar player, obviously was in my band in high school, so he's a very dear friend. And the Silent Deeds, who played on Perth Rocks last year, fucking great bunch of guys. Couldn't put them on Perth Rocks this year, so I wanted to put them on this lineup because, man, as far as I'm concerned, they put out a song last year called The Race, which I think is probably maybe the best rock song that came out of WA last year. Maybe Hole in the Floor by Amber Down is pretty close too, and also Rust by Ragdoll. 3 fucking cracking tracks, man. But yeah, I think like they played at the Waffle Grand Final at Optus Stadium, so like they're firing on all cylinders.
Yep.
Definitely a band to check out. Band of Misfits.
I was about to say, I got them on the show tomorrow. Silent Deeds.
Oh, cool, man. Awesome. So, yeah. I'll check that out. Band of Misfits, dude. Like, have you interviewed Kim?
Yeah, I've interviewed both Kim and the other guys as well. Yeah, and they were at both the gigs I've been to so far. So
right, I've got to check out those interviews. But yeah, like I think Band of Misfits are probably one of my favorite bands to party with. I think Amber Down and Spud Gun are pretty close too. But they are a great bunch of people. And Jake from my band is in Band of Misfits as well.
Yep.
So another great band to check out that night. Of course, Ashes of Autumn. The wonderful and wild Melanie Flynn on vocals there. Matt Ferret, 2 fucking great dudes. I don't know the other guys in the band that well, but they've had some fucking hard times with their fucking band life as well, and got to put them on the bill, man. They really do know how to rock it, man. I saw them at Badlands when I first met you.
That's right, yeah.
Very excited to have them on the show as well. So, like, we've got some great bands in this lineup, and Jackson Coke, we're headlining, we're playing last. I've got all this fucking pent up frustration since our last gig was like October last year or something like that. Maybe September or something. And going that long without performing has been a pain in the hole. So I can't wait to just get all this shit out of my system and scream my fucking ass off.
Yeah, fantastic. And tickets were $15.
$15. I did advertise it today that there's a $10 ticket that you can get for pre-sale, but with all the extra shit that gets put onto it, it ends up being like $12.25. So I'm sorry if I misinterpreted that, everybody. But if you buy that pre-sale ticket, if you're planning on coming and you buy that pre-sale ticket, there's only 50 pre-sale tickets. You buy that ticket, you go into the draw to get a $50 bar card and a T-shirt from every band and a Jackson Coke stubby holder. Get onto that it's only like a $2 fucking whatever, like cheaper than the door sale ticket, which will be $15. But you go into the draw to win this shit. So if you want to win free shit and have $50 worth of free drinks, buy the pre-sale ticket. Don't just show up on the day. If you're thinking you're going to come, buy it fucking now.
Boom. Love it. Love it. And
I'm a promotional machine, bro. I'm good at.
I love it. And people should go to your. Can they go to your Facebook page and click a link? Facebook at there was
just go on Facebook and type in Koke Fest, and it'll pop up straight away. Click on it. Go to the event. The link for the tickets is right fucking there. How simple, man. Super simple. Just do it now. If you're watching this now, get your phone out. If you're on your laptop, get your phone out. Buy a ticket.
That's it. Bam. Done. We're gonna have gonna be sold out before the end of this, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, God forbid you're guaranteed to have a great Saturday night.
Yeah. Look, I'm actually a bit sad I can't come. I've already bought tickets. I'm going to Jamie Page's gig, which is on the same night. Yeah, I know. But from what I can see, I'm coming to the Perth Rocks, so I'll see you guys there.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Jamie Page is awesome. So, like, I'm not mad that you're going to go see her because is it Dark Universe and Black Steel?
Yeah, so they're playing.
That'd be fucking wicked. That'd be wicked. But Koke Fest 2 will be better. I'm just saying it.
Sweet, man. Let's grab a bunch of questions here. I had some that was sent in. We'll start up on them. I had the Jason Hobbits. Two? I don't know. Two, yeah. Was asking if you guys are planning on a Jackson Koke album, an actual physical album instead of a digital release.
So like once we get enough singles together and then we record some of the extra shit, yes, we will have physical copies of all of our stuff. We'll have an album out at some point, probably next year.
CD or vinyl or both?
CD, vinyl.
VHS, yeah.
Maybe USB as well. I don't know.
Oh yeah, this nice little USB one, just to stand out. We got Frankinator Sketch out here. So how does Karlifornia keep his acts so clean?
How do I keep it so clean? I don't know, man. That's a really tough question to answer, Frank. I don't know. I just do. I just do it, man. I just do it. I wake up, it's clean. I go to bed, it's still clean. You know, I preserve it well. You know, there's a lot of notches on it, though. It's been grinding. It's been grinding quite a lot over the last 12, 15 years. That's for sure.
Could imagine, yeah.
Man, I got my redemption, and tonight and this Saturday's my redemption because this song is about a low point in my life with music, and now it's being released, and it's like, fuck yeah, I made it, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Would you rather rock or wrestle?
I used to want to just do both, but after 18 years and all the abuse I put my body through doing wrestling, I just want to rock now. I'm happy with my time in wrestling and how it came to an end, and I will never wrestle another match again.
That's a shame because I got another question here from Sheldon Ang who says, if you could be the world's hottest wrestler or singer, and all things being equal, money, fame, etc., which would you choose?
Musician, dude.
Of course.
Being oh man, nah. The wrestling world right now, if anyone out there's a wrestling fan, I think it's fucking shit right now. It's catered to basement-dwelling losers and not to the casual wrestling fan, which is making the show a more broader show, which is more entertaining based on characters and storylines. And everyone now these days think it's just about acrobatics and Cirque du Soleil. Not for me anymore, man. Don't like wrestling anymore. I like the old shit, the Attitude Era. That's the WWF, ECW, WCW. That's the shit that I grew up on. That's when wrestling was at its pinnacle.
Nice. You're spot on, brother. We've got, I suppose, you actually did mention that we've got someone here asking where all your beers are coming from, but I think you did say you had a little.
I've got a little cooler. I've got a little cooler here.
Oh, that is nice. That's a lunchbox, isn't it?
So if you can look in there, there's only a few left, but
you gotta grab the spot funnel.
I did one of them once. It was quite the experience.
You'll probably do another one at the Perth Rocks.
Maybe. Just with COVID and all that, I hope they'll be disinfecting it first.
Oh, for sure. I don't think that's very, very COVID friendly, that one.
No, it's not.
All right, let's grab one more and. Well, it's a lot of comments, but it's all just people commenting on your story, so you can actually go back and reply to a lot of them after. Okay. I've got one here. I suppose we kind of briefly touched base on that earlier, but that was this is from Ricardo Leonardo.
Bucky. That's his nickname, Bucky.
Yep. Now that we are in a pretty solid position with local live gigs coming back, do you think that more people will support the local scene, since it may be a fair while until international tours resume?
Well, I fucking hope so. I mean, it's if you want to be entertained, then leave your house. It doesn't always have to be about Netflix and Stan and Disney Plus or whatever. Like, if you've completed Red Dead Redemption 2 and you haven't got any other video games to play, fucking just get out your house sometime. And I know beer prices are expensive and Ubers and all that shit, and people always complain about paying for the door fee, even though a pint of beer is more money than the door fee, but you're willing to buy a fucking 10 of those. Just, come out. Come see some of these bands. The rock scene here in Perth is the most underrated scene going today. And all of these bands are putting their heart and soul into all of this shit. And we just need people's support, I'll be honest. Coke Fest only has 13 pre-sales so far. We need more. We want to get 50. So if you're watching this and you love this interview and you can come on Saturday, I implore you, please buy a ticket so the venue doesn't stress out about the fact that we only have a certain amount of pre-sales. Buy your Perth Rocks Festival ticket too. It's only $25 for 15 bands. That's $1.66 per band. Get in there now and buy it. What are you waiting for? You got no plans on October 3rd. Make your plans now. Set it in stone.
Yeah. It's actually, it's almost upsetting how much you have to how much shit you have to swallow.
Man, you got to hustle so hard. You got to annoy people, message them all the time. Have you got your ticket yet? Are you coming? I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. Well, fucking be sure what you're doing and fucking buy a ticket. That's the hardest part about putting on shows and promoting shows, man. It's like, you got to fucking convince all of these people to just set it in stone ahead of time. People like to just keep things open just in case, but even if you buy a ticket and you can't make it, then at least you've contributed, and the bands are going to get paid that $1.66 each or whatever it's going to be. At least you've contributed. And helped us out, because we've all been bored for a long time, and now the most exciting part of the year is about to come. Man, buy that ticket.
Yeah,
that's all. That's all I really want to say.
Cool, man. I've got one last question, which is, I suppose, something that sort of I've been thinking about, sort of given your whole conversation tonight here. If there was sort of one thing that you could educate people with regards to not just live music, but upcoming music in general, what would that be? Give things a chance. Give shit a chance.
You don't have to keep listening to the Rolling Stones for the next 20 years. You don't have to keep listening to Guns N' Roses. They only put out a few albums. You have to keep listening to all these bands from yesteryear. You need to listen to the new shit coming out. Because what's going to be playing on the radio? And this isn't just about people out there. This is about the institutions, the radio stations, the publications. Pay attention to what's fucking going on now. Pay attention to all these bands that have been chipping away for years. Because who's going to be playing the Red Hot Summer Tour in 10 years' time? I don't want to see Jimmy Barnes in a Zimmer frame out there. I don't want to see the Screaming Jets fucking old as fuck still headlining it. Someone new has to come along. These companies that put these big shows together, you got to put one local band in each city at the beginning of the show. Don't put on Chocolate Starfish. Don't put on fucking some other band from years ago and they're all older or whatever. Put on a young new band that are still fucking cranking it. Put on Band of Misfits. Put on Spud Gun. Put on Hail Mary. Put someone else on. If you don't invest in the future, then your festival's going to have nothing going for it in a year's time. And everyone out there, give new music a chance. Give some of these younger bands a chance. Listen to their shit because they've got something to say just as much as fucking David Bowie and Mick Jagger and all them.
Wouldn't it also be some of the responsibility? Wouldn't that also be on the bands to maybe make a little bit more of a sort of make a bit more bad noise about themselves?
Man, I feel like a lot of these bands are putting in a lot of effort to fucking get their name out there. They're trying their asses off. It's just when you try to reach out for these opportunities, you don't get anything in return. You don't get an opportunity. A lot of people have like these agendas in these positions where they're in such an important position where they could help people out and they don't give bands a chance to do that. And like, look, for example, when an international band or a national band comes to Perth, it seems like the same fucking bands get the same slots every time. Just look out your fucking window for a second and just maybe consider someone else. Consider someone else. It doesn't have to be the same bands over and over again. And I'm not just saying it's about Jackson Koke. There's other bands out there that deserve an opportunity, and you put them in front of a bunch of punters that don't know who they are, but they're going out to see some fucking popular band. Like, I don't know. I can't think of an example, but you know, people need to be exposed to the band first before they can become a fan of the band, and those opportunities need to be given to more than just a certain amount. You know, like I'm going to say one thing, man. I was fucking pissed off that Jackson Koke weren't asked to play like on one of those shows that happened the day of the Highway to Hell AC/DC thing. Because like we suit that more than fucking anybody. And I saw a lot of these acts that are on the bill, and there's nothing against them, but I'm like, we suit it more than them. Maybe we're not on the radar enough, but someone who's in an important position should be doing the appropriate research and having the appropriate bands on some of these bills and give some of these bands an opportunity. That's all I want to say. Like, people say I sound like Bon Scott, and fucking book us, man. Give me my band a chance. Sorry, I keep going on rants, bro.
Cool, man. No, that's cool. That's cool, man.
I don't even know if I answered your question, but
no, you did. Like again, it was it's. I think it's the ever going sort of conversation of how to break through the noise. Like, what can you do, and what should you do, and how much do you want it? I think is probably also another very important question. Again, sort of like yourself, like look in the mirror and say, fuck, it took me 12 years. I've got this. Now I want more. You know what I mean? So, Karlifornia, man. It's been so awesome, man. I've really enjoyed hearing that. That's a crazy story. That's such a unique conversation as well, man. I haven't actually had anyone tell a story the same way you have. So thank you. So thank you for that.
I just wanted to be honest, man, and I don't want to like go off topic too much. I just wanted to keep on that timeline and just tell everyone out there and yourself the journey that it took for me in particular. And I hope other people have the opportunity to come on this show and tell their story in a similar way, because we've all got our own stories, and learning from everyone's experiences helps us out.
100%.
Yeah,
that's it. And again, as I said earlier, that's what this show has grown into be. You know, it is something, you know, where people can share experiences, and hopefully other people out there learn from it, or take something, whether it's a lot or whether it's just a little bit, but you walk away with something and say, shit, that's actually really good. I can implement that to where I'm at.
Like if I didn't do this, then that Chris Symes wouldn't have given this great idea. That's
exactly right. Yeah. So you got something out of it as well, man.
It's helped.
That's it, man. Look, let's finish off on a high note here. I'm going to let you introduce the last song we're going to hear, or the first song we're going to hear.
Right. Okay. Well, and I think before I go, I just want to quickly, before I introduce this, I just want to quickly say this, okay? Perth Rocks Festival 2019, what that did was create a fucking family and a scene that we haven't had in Perth rock music for a long time. Now we're all friends with one another. Now I am friends with the guys from Amberdown. Now I love and know the guys from Electric State and Ashes of Autumn and Band of Mist, all of these bands that we had played gigs with. Now we all know each other. Now we all go to each other's shows. Now we care about each other. Now we have Perth Rocks 2020 coming along. We've got other bands that weren't on last year's lineup, some that were. Let's keep that going. Let's build on that. Let's get those bands from last year's lineup to come along and buy a ticket. And let's make this a massive community where now we're screaming from the rooftops that these institutions like Wham and all these other festivals pay attention to this music scene. Pay attention to what we're doing, because we're firing on all fucking cylinders. We're all passionate. We're all friends. And we've created this scene together. And that's thanks to this Perth Rocks Festival.
Love it.
Excuse me. Okay, right. So the single launch is this Saturday, but I wanted to give you guys a little treat, and I wanted it to play for the first time here on the Helhammer Hangout. So what you're going to hear is, you know, the song of me having an axe to grind, and its release ultimately being my redemption from what happened all those years ago. And this song means a lot to me, and it's fucking hectic. So I hope you enjoy it.
Awesome, man. Karlifornia, thank you so much. Everybody who is listening, watching, here is Axe to Grind. See you all on Saturday.
Thanks so much for tuning in or listening along to the show. If you like the show, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to my social channels. It doesn't cost you anything, but it greatly helps me to build my networks and my chances of getting sponsors to keep this show running. If you want to take it to the next level, please head over to patreon.com/StephenHellhammer and become a patron by joining the exclusive community there. You can start from as little as $3 per month. And for just a little extra, you get access to some fantastic features, outtakes, behind the scenes stuff, and much, much more. That's less than the cost of a cup of coffee per month. And that way you can help me build better content. I can devote more time to find awesome guests and just generally just keep everything flowing. If you want to be on the show or subscribe to my mailing list, send an email to steven@helhammer.com, and that is HELhammer.com. That way I can start sending you exclusive invites, random stuff, and messages that, who knows, you might enjoy. So that's it. Have a rocking day ahead, guys, and I will see you on the live stream or in your headphones very soon. Take it easy.